All right, yo, it's Kamikaze Soundwaves, man, and tonight, man, I'm hit up by my buddy Jrpg Gaming, and Jrpg Gaming, introduce yourself, bro.
Hey YouTube, this is Jrpg Gaming, lover of RPGs, gaming, and all things anime, pretty much. And just here with my buddy Kamikaze, and we're just gonna chill and have a good time and chat.
Absolutely. Hey, man, so I want to start out, man. I have a really interesting topic that I don't really get to discuss with a lot of people. Are you watching Dragon Ball Super?
Yeah, but unfortunately, I'm watching the English dub, which is way behind. We're at the
Uh,
Frieza Resurrection arc, pretty much.
so you're all right. Well, I don't want to spoil anything for you, but man, I think that I don't think it's as good as Dragon Ball Z in any way, shape, or fashion, but I do think that I'm really, really digging this series, like in a whole. I really fell out of it with the whole Goku Black series. I don't know what it
Yeah,
was or what it wasn't, but I really wasn't liking it, and I don't know why. But when Frieza came back into the mix, like I literally, it just really made me enthralled back into the series. And I'm an old school Dragon Ball Z fan,
yeah.
so but the whole new Dragon Ball Super thing, like I don't know what it was. Like I said, it's when Frieza came back to the mix, man, it really made me interested again.
Well, Christopher Sabat, who I met earlier last month, he says because of the fans that Dragon Ball Super even came into being, and yeah, I was a little bit bummed that Sean Trimble couldn't make it.
Yeah, and yeah, voice of Vegeta, man, that's a fucking man. Vegeta's my fucking favorite character, hands down, like forever and always, man. Piccolo's probably a close. Well, you know what? I'm alive. Piccolo's probably not my close second, man. I still love some fucking Goku and Gohan and et cetera, et cetera. But I do love some Piccolo back, like when he was like a real badass, and now he's kind of
Yeah,
like dumbed down a little bit. But
yeah. His line was super long, man. He could only stay like a couple of minutes for the panel, and then he had to leave and get back to signing autographs.
yeah, well, probably so. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people who probably go to those a lot of the things would definitely want to see that dude.
I tell you something funny. One of the guys he dressed up as a Master Roshi, I'll have to post a picture on my channel probably this weekend. He somehow found my YouTube channel. I don't know how, but he did.
That's cool, man. That's cool. Was he like an old dude, or did he just, like dress up like
Oh
an
no,
old
he
dude?
was he was a young dude. He was just dressed as Master Roshi, the old guy.
Oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool. So, is it like a personal preference, like when you're not watching the Japanese, like part of it, or is you just really want to watch the Funimation or whatever it is that
I just
America's
oh
doing?
the English. Yeah, I just like to support the English dub. I mean, I have no problem watching animes subbed if I have to. Mostly just animes that don't come over here.
Well, yeah, and that was my whole thing. Like, and I'm completely agree with you, man. There was a part where I was like, you know what? No, absolutely not. I'm gonna wait until they get the English thing because that's where I feel like
Yeah,
I watched
but it's
Dragon
gonna
Ball
take
Z.
so long though.
Yeah, exactly. And I watched Dragon Ball Z for, like when it was just straight up, you know, all the subtitles, et cetera, et cetera. Or I'm sorry, Dragon Ball Super up to a point, and I'm like, no, this is so good. This is so great. I want to see like what the American version does with it because it's, to me, in my opinion, it's way better.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait. And as soon as I heard Frieza was back, I'm like, nope, can't wait. Frieza's back. Gotta see this.
Yeah, the arc is pretty good, and it's a, lo- a lot different from the movie to make you want to watch it. The Battle of Gods is pretty much spot on with the movie, with a little differences here and there. But Resurrection F is so different; it makes you want to watch it.
Yeah, Resurrection F, like, I mean, honestly, I don't think I've ever actually sat down and watched the entire movie as a whole. Like, I never actually like bought it, watched it in a whole. Like, I always watched like just parts of it. And there was just something about it that didn't make me want to sit down and watch the movie as entirety. I can't explain it. Um, but I guess it was like the whole Frieza thing at that point. I was like, why is Frieza back? Oh my God, how many times have we done this? You know what I mean? But like now,
Yeah,
for some weird reason, I'm just really enthralled that Frieza's back, man. I just can't explain
yeah.
it. And even though, like, not to spoil it, but, I hope I'm not spoiling it for you. But even though he's back,
Oh, it's not.
I'm like, now that he's back, I'm like, okay. Like, there's nothing like really going on with him. Like, it really everything so far that he's back is like still just about everything else, everybody else. So
Yeah.
anyway,
And since we're on the subject of Dragon Ball, a lot of people are liking Dragon Ball Fighter Z over Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and I'm debating if I'm gonna wait like till Black Friday to get it because with as much like backlash as it's getting, it's mainly people being pissed off about not having X-Men characters. That's what everybody's all pissed off about.
yeah, and I really don't really know what the inclusion. Well, I guess there's some if and or odd reason behind them not being. But look, I literally threw my interest in that game out a long time ago, man, a long time ago. And that's fine, man. You know what? There's no X Men characters. There could be no characters. I could really care less. But no, man, that Dragon Ball Fighter Z. Oh my god! I mean, like, I don't know who has done this or who thought of this, but man, they deserve award after award after award. A Marvel versus Capcom type game with Dragon Ball Z fighters. Jesus, tap dancing Christ, man, this is going to be great, amazing. I literally cannot wait.
Yeah, it's gonna sell. Only bad thing is it's not coming out till 2018 though.
Yeah, and that's fine, man. I mean, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is going to sell. It's going to sell.
Yeah.
We all know that.
But it probably won't do as well as Capcom wants it to.
Yeah, of course. But, and that's fine. But there is that part of me that wants to be hypocritical, man. You get it, man. I'm not going to lie. I played the demo and it's not great, but like I said, mechanically, it's the same like a Street Fighter 5, man. It's not great like content wise, but mechanically, it's a great game. It's gonna be a great game, but content wise, it's gonna be terrible.
Yeah, well, if they want to, Disney and Capcom want to help with the fans, get them back in good graces again, they need to sit down and get Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2 back on PSN so people can rebuy them.
Yeah, and I actually bought I bought Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on PSN back when it was on PS2, and yeah, that was short lived. I deleted that very quickly just to make content for new things. But did you see the new Spider-Man movie?
No, I haven't. But I watched your review and I was like, ooh, I wonder if I actually want to see this movie now.
Yeah, it's not what I thought it was going to be, man. It's not. Oh man, there's just so much of it that like I think that I should like, and like Stan Lee said that Spider-Man is a character that everyone can relate to. He's like a very normal, down to earth superhero where everyone can say like, I know this guy, like, I can understand his problems, et cetera, et cetera. But okay, at the same time, Spider-Man's fucking Spider-Man. Okay, he can like do what he does, lift car. I mean, Spider-Man has beat the Hulk. Okay, let's be real for a second. Spider-Man can do amazing feats, and I don't get to see that in this movie, and that's what really upset me the most about it. Like, I don't see Spider-Man being Spider-Man at any point. I just get to see him being the butt of the joke time and time and time again, and I'm like, that's not what I really signed up for this for. Like, I wanted to see Spider-Man, like, do really cool, crazy, dope Spider-Man things. And, like, I never got to see that. And I think that's what my biggest gripe with it was I don't mind, what I guess it turned out to be. I think as going into it, when I buy a ticket, I'm like, I bought this ticket because I want to see Spider-Man kick some ass. I really never got to see that. I never got to see it.
Well, I think it's probably like you said in your video. It's like Spider-Man meets Iron Man, pretty much, and that's not what we want to see.
Mm-hmm. Like, I've seen Iron Man movies, but
But I love the old school '90s cartoon, the original '90s Spider-Man animated series, and Spider-Man Unlimited. Even though sadly it never got finished, it ended on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And amazingly surprised, I didn't know this back in the day until I found out what Wikipedia was. Ham Saban had kind of like a hand in its creation, but Marvel, which of course Disney didn't own the Marvel rights at the time. They had like a disagreement. He wanted to use the original Spider-Man suit, but Marvel said no, and so they had to come up with a new suit. And I was a big fan of the whole like alternate Earth kind of like story, but it's a shame that the story will never be finished. You can find all the episodes on YouTube if you want to watch it.
Yeah, and that's crazy, man. Like some of those cartoons, like back then, like the '90s, like even the Spider-Man and the Batman. Oh God, the Batman, the animated series. Oh man, like that shit is not really made for children. If you really dive down to it, like some of the, like what was it, like an episode with Clayface and like how, like about, I guess it was like a moral about plastic surgery down to a degree. That's a really really dark shit, man. If you really think about it and analyze it, man, that's some really dark stuff.
Yeah, well, Disney edited a lot of the episodes after Fox Kids went away, because I watched a lot of the shows after they moved over to there, and Disney cut out a lot of the really violent scenes. But yeah, like you said, even though it was targeted towards kids, us who were in our teens to earlier adulthood at the time, we were the ones who liked it, and it really went downhill after that. Like with Batman Beyond, okay, we gotta make it more kid friendly, and you could see that they dumbed down a little bit, and there really hasn't been anything Batman related since the Where the Batman, which got canceled after one season. Sure, we have the new Justice League action, and it's okay, but at least Kevin Conroy is back as Batman, but there hasn't really been anything solely Batman focused, like cartoon wise, since then.
Yeah, and honestly, man, I don't watch a lot of like the cartoon or the anime stuff and stuff nowadays, like, but I did for a while. And the Justice League, like the actual Justice League cartoon, like the first one, I don't know, but that was a really good series. But I really hate how they put Batman into perspective. It was like, like Batman had to be carried by Hawkwoman. Batman had to be like transported in a bubble by like Green Lantern. I'm like, every time I saw that, because I'm such a huge Batman fan, I'm like, stop doing that to fucking Batman. Like, he's fucking Batman, okay? Stop carrying him around like he's a fucking infant, all right? But they dumbed him down a lot. And I mean, understandably, because these are superheroes. And look, let's be fair, let's be honest. He's Batman. And don't get it twisted. He's my favorite superhero of all time. But there was I felt there was a lot of episodes that went forward where, they had to put Batman's character away because they couldn't tackle such issues with him as a main character because he didn't fit into the mold.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on the Batman versus Superman movie, or did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it. Okay, so, all right. We've already established I'm a huge Batman fan, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, honestly, I didn't hate it. I didn't like it either, but I didn't hate it.
Yeah, me either. I'm like in the middle.
Yeah, and all right, so it's based off of I'm sure you could probably reference it a lot faster than I could. What's it called? It's based off the comic book, and there's a short movie about it where Batman gets older and Superman's like come to like take him down.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's called Batman: The Dark Knight Returns or something after a 10-year hiatus.
Exactly, something along those lines, and that's what I was expecting to see because I know that's what it was based off of. Like when the movie was premiered, like that was like the short that was premiered. Like, hey, this movie's coming out and it's going to be like this. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be like this thing that you guys love. So it's good in a sense, but it doesn't represent that. But I do love to see these fans of like, Batman's Batman. He's immortal. Like, why does he even get to be like? No, that's fucking why. You know what I mean? Like, he's around these superhuman people, but like he can still tear them down in an instant. And you know what I mean? Like, I was glad to see that on the big screen, and that was really cool. But there was that like Martha scene. I'm like, oh, come on, guys. Like, that's it. Like, that's what the joining force is like, they have the same mother or name or whatever. But no, I mean, did I like it as a whole? Like I said, I didn't hate it, but I didn't really love it. But I think at the end of the day, when the credits rolled, it was decent. It was okay. I don't think I got a lot of flack for what it, like a lot of people gave it.
Yeah, and one thing I want to see, but this is just a dream on my end, is a Marvel versus DC fighting game. And yes, I know Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe bombed.
Yeah, well, Well, that's going to be really too hard to tackle in any kind of like licensing frame to have those
Yeah.
two, wrapped up in anything. Too much pride
Well,
on both sides, but
there are
yeah.
a lot of games I never thought would come here, like that Tatsunoko versus Capcom. That had like a big licensing hurdle to overcome, and that finally made it. And of course, I've always wanted to see a Mortal Kombat versus Street Fighter game, but I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Well, I mean, the DC and Marvel versus or DC versus Mortal Kombat, like that kind of makes sense because you've never seen
Yeah.
DC in a fighting game, so like they kind of give them their own identity and fighting styles. So,
Yeah.
but to bring us like Ryu versus Superman, like I'm sorry, man, but like Ryu's gonna eat that like fucking dog food, man. He's too quick, and like to like, oh, Ryu's beating Superman. You know what I'm saying? Like it's too
Yeah.
easy. Like with the mechanics and et cetera, et cetera. Like Mortal Kombat, it's a great fighting game. It's mechanically great. Don't get me wrong, but it's too slow pace versus the style of something like Street Fighter. Like Akuma would like
Yeah.
eat Superman for breakfast, mechanically speaking.
With Capcom's future in regarding, since I know it's going to be a while before we see a new Street Fighter game, how do you think they need to go about like restructuring themselves?
Capcom in general,
Yeah.
I think Capcom fans are very vocal about
Yeah.
themselves being fans.
Oh yeah, they are.
And that's myself being included, right? I mean, you've watched some of my videos. I mean, like, you think that, like, I mean, we've never met or anything like that, but like, you've watched some of my content, and you can
Yeah.
tell like my deep roots like come from something like Capcom, right? And I think that's where I think that I'm coming from. They've got to start paying attention to their franchises that mean something to
the
people,
fans,
like
yeah.
exactly, and the more they keep ignoring that, just the deeper the hole they're going to dig for themselves, right?
Yeah. Like with Mega Man, they need to stop giving him like cameo like in Smash and like bringing him back for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and give him a new game. And I mean, I've already pretty much acknowledged to myself that Mega Man Legends 3 being continued finished, that's never going to happen despite how many people want it.
And you're talking about the Mega Man game. You said Mega Man Legends, right?
Yeah, the
Oh
third
man,
one. The
I never,
third, yes.
I never played the third one. I played
Yeah, it never happened. It got canceled.
the first one and second one was on PS1, correct?
Yeah, they're both on PSN if you want to download them. For I
But
think it's yeah.
was there a
$10.
second one, or the second one was the Trombone like sequel, right?
Oh, that was its own side game or whatever.
Oh, okay. I remember playing Mega Man Legends and really loving that game. Like, I loved that game. It was so different. I mean, being a Mega Man fan and then playing that, I think I was probably objectively like criticizing it immediately, probably as soon as I played it. But after
Yeah.
spending a couple of like 30 to 45 to an hour or two with it, I was like, man, this is really fucking good. But to see a new Mega Man Legends game, yeah, you're right. Like, but that's what you're getting to, and what I'm getting to. Like,
Yeah.
Capcom needs to they need to find their fan base and deal
They
with
need to
it.
listen more.
Exactly, and I mean, maybe that's not the game that you want to make. Maybe that's not the game that you think is more cost efficient. But this is what we want. You know what I mean?
And yeah, I know how some big companies are. Well, we can't do everything the fans want, but if it's something that people really want and they're going to buy, and if they're vocal about it, that means they want it.
But
It's kind of
clearly,
like how Nintendo with the whole, I think it was Xenoblade Chronicles after the whole Operation Rainfall. Nintendo's like, well, yeah, a petition with 100,000 signatures doesn't mean 100,000 in sales. Blah blah blah.
yeah, and clearly they're all about the money at this point, and that's very clear, and that's very disappointing. And
Yeah.
that's where I lost. Look, I loved Capcom as a whole, and I can't describe or explain to why I love them so much. It's just I felt that like every game that I played as a child, I remember like that Capcom seal of approval on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And growing up as understanding game companies, as you start to get more cynical, et cetera, et cetera. And I still always had huge respect for that company.
Yeah, what they once were. Yeah.
right? And then when Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Ultimate Edition came out, like I lost everything. Like I literally gave up. Like it did something inside of me where like I always knew these things were happening, but it never happened to me personally. You know what I mean? Like I've seen these companies, like, you know, gaming companies, et cetera, and I've always like, I guess I turned a blind eye to it, but like it officially happened to me with my favorite game company.
Yeah, that's when you feel it.
Yeah, exactly. You understand what I'm saying? You get where I'm coming from. And it broke my soul, man. Like I felt terrible. Like I felt horrible. Like I felt like something bad was done to me as a person. I felt like I got taken advantage of as a game from a gaming company. And that never happened to me, man. That was like a life-changing experiment there.
Yeah, it does suck that a lot of when a lot of your favorite franchises are either A, not going to see a new game, or B, are pretty much dead at this point.
Yeah. And like that was, like I said, that was, I played a lot of things, man, up until that time and that day. I guess I just never. I mean, like, you know, I didn't really follow a lot of things like I do nowadays. It was up until that point where, when that happened, that's when I started to take notice of things, and I started to really like watch these game companies like with a sharp eye, like I'm watching you. You know what I mean? And that happened probably to a lot of people a lot earlier in their career of gaming. But
At least, I was going to say, but at least Capcom and Nintendo are playing ball with the upcoming SNES Mini. Mega Man X is on there, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and I think one or two other Capcom games is going to be on the list of 21 games.
So is the Mega Man game, is that just a remake or?
Oh, it's just the SNES Mega Man X game. The first one is going to be on the SNES Classic, along with the Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and I think one or two other Capcom games.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that Street Fighter 2 game that was on the Switch, and I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And I was like, oh, so they're finally going to finish that game after like 20 years. That's cool. You know what I mean? It's only been like fucking forever. But no, I was really interested to see that on there, and that was kind of like one of the biggest reasons I wanted to get a Switch, other than Splatoon's 2.
Yeah, that's coming out next week, actually.
Yeah, man. You know, I haven't gotten one, and the only way I can get one is in a bundle, and I'm just not ready to spend like over $500 for a console that I'm not even sure that I want to play that much. You know what I mean?
I'm tempted to buy it just to play the online while it's free, because sometime in 2018 you're gonna have to start paying to play online. But $20 a year compared to like 60 with Xbox and PlayStation, that's cheap. But we'll have to wait and see if the $20 a year is actually worth it.
Yeah, and knowing Nintendo, I highly doubt that it's gonna be. You know? Yeah. I mean, look. When it came to like when like the PS3 came out and the online subscription was free, I was cool with it. Like I was like, oh man, that's great that, you know, they're doing something free. Xbox 360 is like, they're offering like, you know, $50 a year. That's absurd. This you know, this company is offering for free. But you see how much infrastructure problems that the PS3 had, them getting hacked, et cetera, et cetera. To me, when it comes to an online gaming service, there are points where I'll agree with having an online game subscription. Like, it makes sense. It helps them maintain it. It helps them, like, you know, stop the hacking. It makes your infrastructure like just more, you know, understandable and easier and more intuitive, et cetera, et cetera. So I actually don't really mind paying a monthly fee for a gaming subscription, only when it makes sense, though.
Yeah, I think Sony does need to step up their game, and there hasn't been any really hacks lately on their company that I'm aware of, and you hardly ever see Xbox get hacked.
Yeah, I remember when that whole big hacking thing happened. Like I had, you know, my credit card was on there, or my debit card was on there, and I was like, shit, man, I gotta watch my stuff for a while. But, you know, nothing ever happened, luckily. But I remember when that happened, but like nothing happened to Xbox, and like I kind of just felt like at that time I was like a Xbox fanboy, And anybody who was like a PlayStation fanboy, I was like, yeah, you see what happens? You know what I mean? Like I felt like I could rub it in their face just a little bit.
Or as some people like to call them, Sony ponies.
Yeah, there you go. I haven't heard that one before. That's a good one though. But no, man, I was a huge Microsoft fanboy for a long, long, long time, and I got a PS4. Man, PS4 is like really what like kind of broke me away from being a Microsoft fanboy. But no, I mean honestly, after owning like all these systems at this point, I'm still like down for PS4 like all the way. I think it's just one of the best systems. And you have a PS4. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that it's so intuitive. I mean, to implement that streaming service that it has is so easy. I mean, everything that it offers is just to me like everything that you would think Xbox would have migrated to, or Xbox 360 would have migrated to in its Xbox One phases. And I kind of always have had this thought that Xbox, and I could be wrong, or Microsoft has had this thought that they were just on top of the game and they could rush out a system and they could just deal with it as it comes, not knowing that PS learned from their mistakes, really did a really good job revamping their system, their hardware, their infrastructure, and throw out something better that they could. I really think that sometimes.
Yeah. Well, with Microsoft, before I get to this point, I'll go ahead and finish, and then I'll get to my other point in a second. With Microsoft and Sony in general, I don't know why we have 3 systems revisions this early. Of course, we have the original Xbox one has been discontinued. Now we have the S and the upcoming X, and then PS4. Of course, we have the original base model, which I don't think you can find those in stores anymore. And then you have the Slim and the PS4 Pro. We don't need 3 system revisions already.
And I don't think we need really any of it, if you ask me, because like my thought always was, okay, I have no problem with a mid-console launch, because what these mid-console launches were before were
Slim
slimmer,
models, yeah.
exactly, slim, cheaper, cost-efficient models that's easier for the company, easier for the consumer. It was a win-win for everyone, right? Mm-hmm. And what I'm seeing now and what I'm scared of, and I could be wrong, I could just be making this all up in my head, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, that I feel that these mid-consoles, this is the first time that we've seen a mid-console launch where it's more powerful than the initial system, right? And I'm starting to feel that this is a test, like this is a crash,
to be the norm, yeah.
The crash card dummy, like we're gonna see where this hands up. Who's buying this stuff, right? And who's buying it? Are these the same people who are gonna buy a game that's exclusive to that more powerful mid-console launch? And I could be completely just crazy with that thought, but I think that could be what they were thinking initially, because how many consoles are they going to sell, that mid-console sell, where, hey, if you think about Microsoft, what's the new Halo game they could sell on that? Because that's their flagship franchise. Yeah. And you think about PS4, Uncharted, like who's not going to buy that? Especially, I mean, it might not sell as much as you think it would, but there's going to be people who buy it always and forever, right? And I hope it doesn't go that route, but I have had that thought several times. I've mentioned that several times, but I'm really scared that it's going to go that route, and I really hope it doesn't.
Yeah, well, I've been thinking a lot ever since Microsoft started the whole original plan for the Xbox One being all digital. Of course, people got pissed off. And so
hell
Microsoft
yeah.
backed off, and I think when PS5 and Xbox 2 and of course the Switch is Nintendo's new system, and eventually when it does get all digital, I wonder if people are going to be ready this time. I mean, I've accepted all digital. I mean, it's going to happen. We can't stop it, but I'll continue to buy physical for as long as I'm able to. And I think Microsoft and Sony learned from their mistakes, like with Microsoft with the 360. And I'm so glad I listened to my mom and didn't buy the original 360 because of the red ring, and you can tell me how many real 360s you had in a minute. And they learned from that mistake, but it took them like so long before we got a proper revision with the S model. And of course the PS3, a lot of people say, oh, it's expensive, but you got to remember, just like with PS2, $300 at launch, and that was cheap for a DVD player, much like PS3 being $600. Sony's problem is they thought Blu-ray was going to take off immediately like DVD did, but it backfired. And of course they had to take stuff out to get the price down. And then eventually PS3 started selling, and of course now we have the Super Slim, which I use, and I just I think companies need to evaluate not only short term when they make a new system, but also the long term. Are people going to want all these features? Much like how Microsoft abandoned the Kinect when nobody wanted it anymore.
No, they're very good points, man. I Speaking of the Kinect, man, I have never used a Kinect game yet. I have one, and I got it for $20 on sale. And I swear to God, only thing I use it for is to turn my Xbox on and off. I literally use it for those two functions alone because I don't know what else to use it for. But no, I mean, like you're talking about some games or some systems, like turning over, et cetera, et cetera. But
Yeah.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
About companies learning from their mistakes, but also thinking about the short term and long term. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, and like PS2, like you said, like I mean, yeah, when that thing came out, like I mean, it had a DVD player in it. Like that's what I think that was the downfall of the Dreamcast. Like
Test, yeah,
exactly,
that's what Sega should have done and should have added like $50 to it because I think Dreamcast was $199. So if it would have added maybe 50 to maybe 249, Dreamcast would have been competitive still.
and I mean, I tell you, that's my favorite game console of all time. But and I mean, you look at like retro, people who were really into the retro, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, Dreamcast is like a favorite among everyone who games. Like, it's just like the go-to console, et cetera, et cetera. It's one of those consoles where people have just this retrospective how great and amazing and the games are on it. And like there's been these really weird random topics of people talking about a Dreamcast 2. Now, I'm interested. Would you buy a Dreamcast 2? Would you buy a Dreamcast 2? If a Dreamcast 2, if Sega said, hey, you know what? We're going to do this. We're going to go forward with it. Would you buy a Dreamcast 2?
If it had all the modern features of what a modern console has, and if it was excuse me, if it was reasonably priced, yeah, I would buy it.
What if it was just a more cost-efficient Dreamcast that still would allow you to play some of the online games that Dreamcast offered back then? Would you buy a Dreamcast 2 then? If that's what it was, like more of a modern day revision. Would you buy a Dreamcast if it allowed you to play like, Quake? Would it allow you to play what was another one, like Phantasy Star, et cetera, et cetera? Would that be a console that you would be interested in? Because I would be.
And I was going to say possibly, and if they could have some kind of like store similar to PSN, Xbox Live, and eShop, blah blah blah. And if you could like download games that are like crazy expensive, like physically, yeah, then I'd be on board with that.
Now, my second question I think would be, would you buy a Dreamcast 2 if it was going to be supported by new Sega hardware games? We're finally going to get that Sonic Adventure 3. We're finally going to get that new Shenmue game that everybody's wanted. Would you be interested in the Sega Dreamcast 2 then?
Yeah, if they could get the things that they were, if they're promising to do this, and that, yeah, it would be.
Yeah, I am too, man. And why I ask you that is because in both instances, I'm interested both ways. I love Sega so much deeply as a company. I don't care which way they want to go. I would buy whatever they put out. I know how that probably sounds, but man, I love Sega, man. I love Sega so much. One of my favorite game companies, period. No matter what they do, what they put out, it's just, I don't mind. I know that, like I said, I know how that probably sounds, but I love that company. I love the gaming. I love all the games. And like a Power Stone game, like how hard is it to make a new Power Stone game? Like, just please, like, can we just get a fucking Power Stone game?
Yeah, I think there are some like Sega games or branded IPs that I don't think you'll ever see again, honestly.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, but Sega, I mean, Jesus, man, I just don't know where to start or end with Sega, man. I love that company and even Sega CD, man. I played all the F&V games. I played the fuck out of them. Long story behind that, but man, I love those games. They're so weird and abstract, and they just have this certain place in gaming where I can just appreciate what Sega was trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've heard recently a lot of like modern gamers are getting into the Sega 32X now, even though it wasn't appreciated back when it was relevant.
Did you ever play Sega 32X or have a Sega 32X?
Uh, no, I didn't have a Genesis growing up, but I briefly uh touched one in some of the add-ons. I was selling both add-ons for a buddy of mine, and yeah, I touched like got a feeling for it, and yeah, I went through the whole hookup and all that, and whew, oh boy, it was a that's really the only downfall of like hooking all that monstrosity up is all the power bricks and the special like attachment that you need for the 32X to see the sprites properly.
Yeah. And did you hook it up to a Model 1 or a Model 2?
It was a Model 2, I believe. It'll work like either way.
Well, I remember because I had a Sega 32X, and I remember the Model 1, you had to have like those weird like metal pins that you had to put in the game cartridge in
Oh
order
yeah,
you know, you know what I'm talking
but I
about?
think it'll work without it as well.
I remember when I had mine. I remember like maybe like I said, man, it was years ago, but I remember when I first got my Sega 32X and I hooked it up, and I was like, "This is insane!" Like, I mean, how much more do you need? Like, I mean, literally, it's like a Lego set at this point. Like, I have to like build it from the ground up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a shame they couldn't do what Nintendo did with the Super Nintendo, just add like more chips into the cartridges to make them better.
Yeah.
But instead they went the add-on route, and I am surprised that Nintendo didn't do what Sega did, making a Super Nintendo portable. Of course, now we have that with a Superboy, but of course that's not a licensed product, and people are still buying Sega Nomads and Sega 32Xs to this day. But the original Sega CD, from what I've heard, the Model 1 is not very reliable. You have to keep fixing it.
And the Model 1 is is that the one with the
tray,
button?
yeah. Yeah, the disc tray,
Oh,
slot loading disc tray, yeah.
so I'm sorry. I'm just trying to make sure I understand. The Model 1 is the push button with the motorized tray, right?
Yeah, think of
Okay.
it as PS2 Fat.
Okay, I got you. See, because I didn't have that one then, because I had the Model 2, which was
Yeah,
the top
flop
loader.
open door, yeah, like PS2 Slim, yeah.
Yeah, and that one, as long as I had it, I remember is being reliable as I needed it to be. But man, that opening music on the Sega CD was just
Yeah.
that was just epic. God, that was epic as hell, man.
Oh, did you ever have a Sega channel, by the way?
Sega Channel.
It
No,
was
I remember Sega Channel. No, I never got the luxury of having Sega Channel, but I've heard some interesting things about it.
yeah, I used to watch like promos a lot, and oh man, being a diehard Nintendo guy until PlayStation came on, man, I was so jealous that Nintendo didn't have something like that. Of
Yeah.
course, they did in Japan, but that was a Japan only thing with the saddle view thing. But we never got anything over here that used it.
Did you ever have a Sega Saturn?
No, unfortunately, no, I didn't. And now the games are like so expensive because most people bought the PS1 versions of games. I've heard like Mega Man 8 is like the most expensive, like, well, probably second most expensive Sega Saturn game, because I know that Panzer Dragoon Saga is like the most expensive Sega Saturn game I think that exists.
Yeah, I've seen that, and once again, I don't get it. I never owned a Sega Saturn myself, and you can call me crazy, but I didn't even know a Sega Saturn like existed until I got older.
Yeah, that's what I've heard a lot of people say.
And it's even crazy because like I was a huge Sega fan, and I didn't even know like Sega Saturn even existed. Like I was such a huge Sega fan, and I guess when the Nintendo 64 came out, I got so blindsided by like everything. I was like, nope, no more Sega Nintendo 64. I want to have Mario jumping over to this and that and the third. You know what I mean? Like it literally completely blinded me. And they did a good job with that shit, man. I mean, really, honestly, I mean, coming from a retrospect, actually now, like just thinking about it and talking about it as we're talking about it now, from being such a huge Sega fan to like completely just disregarding everything they had, being blinded by Nintendo. I mean, I was young, so I mean, still,
Yeah.
it's different nowadays. Like, there's no internet, there's no forums, et cetera, et cetera.
But yeah, there is some footage on YouTube of the Sega channel that people recorded, thankfully, with old VHS recording, blank VHS. Remember how to do that? Remember having to do that back in the day?
Recording your game footage with VHS.
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
did it. I never actually did that. I mean,
Oh wow.
I never did that. I mean, I never recorded game footage like that. I just wasn't really into like. I mean, back then, like I was just playing the game, just like for me, like I never even like until thought I'd be doing YouTube until like a year or two ago. Whenever I started it, and I was like, fuck it, let me just try this shit out, and really enjoy doing it. But never like recorded game footage or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, I would get into like doing YouTube like full time, but it's just how companies are with their content, especially Nintendo, and just having to spend like money on capture cards and all that. And I mean, if you're someone like who's going to be like dedicated, yeah, you have to like go like into like investing and all that shit and whatnot.
Yeah, and I've done that. Like I've invested in like now I'm into it. But like like speaking of Nintendo, like you cannot make a video on YouTube at this point. I mean, and lately I've made there's so many companies out there who are just nasty and just despicable. Like I have like I've streamed
Yeah.
Overwatch time and time and time and time and time again.
Again, yeah.
No issues, no problems. Yesterday or the day before or whatever last stream that I had on Overwatch, I had a copyright strike on my videos from
Huh.
Overwatch streaming. Like really? Like who? It's almost deterring people from starting up to making videos, etc., etc. I
Yeah.
have a very tiny channel. It's like
Yeah.
I'm at like nothing, and I'm streaming Overwatch all these times. I've had not one issue, not one time. All of a sudden, I'm getting a copyright strike over Overwatch. Like, and you can't even fight these things because you don't know where they're coming from. You don't even know if
Yeah.
it's legitimate. You just, you pretty much have to shut your mouth and just ignore it. But
Yeah. That's
Nintendo is the worst, man. The worst.
that's why I just talk about stuff without showing footage. And it's like when I plan to stream the upcoming Mega Man Legacy Collection 2 next month after I stream 7 and 8, gonna immediately delete the stream so Capcom doesn't content ID or copyright it. Because like, why are you gonna make money? Like we're giving you free advertising, plus you already got money from us when we bought the game from you.
Exactly, and like that's how I look at it. It's free as advertisement. It's like,
Advertising.
yeah, you're looking at it like this is like, oh man, I'm watching this guy or this guy play this game. Like now I want to play it, but they don't look at it that way. They're looking at it like, oh well, I've already seen the game. I don't want to buy it
Yeah,
anymore, and
or
whatever.
or Nintendo's aspect. Oh, it's spoiling the game. Wow, I've seen 10 minutes of the game. That's not really spoiling. Just like if you watch someone giving a first impressions on a movie or whatever, seeing the first 5 minutes, that doesn't spoil anything.
Or
But
Mario Kart 8, like Mario Kart 8 is like, how can you fucking spoil Mario Kart 8? Like you explain
yeah,
to
the
me
game
how
is
you.
old.
Yeah, I mean, not even it's old. It's like it's a fucking kart racing game. Like we've been down this road before. No pun intended. Like
Yeah,
we've done this before. Like it's you race down, you hit people with shells, you fucking go to the first place, you go back to eighth. Like we've done this before. Like why the fuck are you trying to capitalize on this? Like this is clearly something everyone knows something about. Why are you? You know what I mean? Like
yeah. It
it's
just
it's it's nothing new. It's nothing old.
it just in my opinion, the whole copyright system needs to be like overhauled because it was made before the internet was even a thing.
Yeah. I mean
But
that's a whole different like thing.
yeah,
I mean I get it and I understand it because let's be real, let's be honest. Like the internet is like the wild wild west still at this
yeah,
point, man. And to be able to do half of the things that people do, they really should be regulated. But at the same time, to start regulating things like this, man, it's a scary. That's a scary thing to start doing because it's been this way for so long. In order for it to start changing, it's going to take so much
work,
effort.
yeah.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much.
But yeah, that's why a lot of people don't want to touch Nintendo reviews because they don't want videos getting copyrighted or claimed. And I'm just wondering if the future of YouTube is going to be like people just talking about games without showing footage, or people going to other sites. A lot of people are going to VidMe now. I've created an account on there a few months ago. I haven't created anything on there because I guess I'm like you. I'm kind of loyal to YouTube.
No, I have a VidMe account, and I started to upload things over at VidMe. Most of my stuff that I already have on YouTube, like nothing new or anything like that. But I mean, but at the end of the day, like VidMe is like, like that's not where it's going to happen for you. If it's going to happen for you, it's going to happen on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And let's be real. Let's be honest. If you start on YouTube, let's be real. Let's be honest. If you start making videos on YouTube, you kind of have some kind of something where you're like, I'm going to make it on here. Because you didn't do it. You didn't do it. We all do it for fun, I think. But there's also the idea of like, my content is great. You think your content is great, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, not everybody's going to be the next Angry Joe or the next PewDiePie or whatever. I mean, only certain people can start small and grow big. There's only a few people who can succeed in doing that.
Right. And I never said that I was. I literally, when I started YouTube.
I get it.
But when I started YouTube, like I literally did it because this is something that I always wanted to do. And when I started it and when I did it, I was like, it's not going anywhere. But I'm content with that. I'm cool with that. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, I still like doing it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, there are other people who are going to go and do that, and they're going to think they're going to be blah, 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 blah. But there are, it's so also what I understand people are going to VidMe because they think that it's not working for them on YouTube and they go to VidMe, but it's not going to happen for you on VidMe. It's not going to happen over there. Now, I've seen a lot of people on VidMe go over there because of the copyright stuff, et cetera, but I mean, but I will say one thing about the VidMe community is that they are so cool. They're so accepting about whatever you post over there. You get a lot of positivity. There is not even a down like button on any of that stuff. It's either you can up like it or you can just move on. You know what I mean? And that I really like about that community. And since I've been over there, their community is just so positive and just so uplifting. Like it's either you can be nice, you can be positive, or you can't do anything at all.
Yeah. And do you think Patreon's out of control, as Black Metal Gamer says? Patreon!
Yeah, and I don't really subscribe. I mean, I understand the Patreon thing, and I get it. That's great. Yeah. And that gives people, they allow people to donate to the people that they like. And I get that, and I like that. I like that actually a lot. But
I'll never do that, honestly. I mean, like you, I just do for fun. I mean, I would be content if I had like 500 or 5,000 subs. To me, having a number is irrelevant. I'm like, I want to chill with people. I want to talk and stuff and just have fun. I don't care about making it big on YouTube.
Exactly. I mean, my sentiments exactly, man. But, I mean, there are people out there who want to get paid for what they're doing. They feel like they should get a dollar value for what they're doing because they feel like they're doing such a great job, regardless of like what other people think. And I get that. Everyone's let's be honest. Everyone's kind of egotistical when you break it down to a degree, right?
Yeah.
Maybe someone not like you, and maybe someone like not like me, because I think that we're just real genuine people and we get it. But there are some people, and this is not to like bash like BMG or anything like that, but
I understand.
And I get it, and I understand it. Like, there's a part of me that like, I think my content's great. Why am I not having more subscribers? But at the same time, I understand like my place. You know what I mean? I understand like, my content's not amazing. It's not great. It's very average. It's where I'm at is where I deserve to be at. But do I want to get paid for it? Absolutely. But to have a Patreon and like ask people to give me money for like what I'm doing, like I just don't have the moral compass for something like that.
Yeah, me either. And I just don't like YouTubers that shove like Patreon and stuff in their face, but they say, I'm not, they're all like, I'm not asking for money, but really if you set up a Patreon, you're kind of asking for it, but you're giving people the option to donate if they want to, but technically you are asking for money if you set one up.
Yeah, and completely agree. But like when I started like my Twitch account, like I started Twitch before I even like I had like my first view on Twitch. And I even like put on there like, hey, you can donate if you want to. And I felt like an asshole doing that. You know what I mean? I was like, why? What are you doing? It's like I felt like I was e-begging. I'm like, I don't really mean it, but after like going back and rereading it after a couple of months, I'm like, I feel like I'm still asking for a handout. And there's nothing wrong with. I don't feel like there's nothing wrong with it. Once you're established, I think that there's nothing wrong with it because you should be getting paid if you're making content for people who are like in the thousands range who are
Yeah.
enjoying it. You know what I mean? But for me, it's like I think even if I even happen to majestically got to that point, I still would feel weird doing that. If someone gave me money over the internet, like I would feel guilty about it. You know what I mean? I would feel like wrong.
Yeah, I had about 320 subs on my old YouTube channel before I deleted it. I just had to like get my head together. Just I was letting like all the like YouTube shit and crap get to me. And it did me good like to get away for a couple of months, and I just learned from like one of my buddies, Bear 29. You just wash it off. Don't let it get to you. And people are just so like people get offended so easily nowadays. Like they get butt hurt over silly shit.
Yeah, and that's another thing, man. Like today, like this, like community of people, it's the worst, man. It's like the worst. You know what I mean? It's the worst. The community, like, I mean, that's when, like, I play Overwatch a lot. Like, I have everyone muted. I don't care who wants to talk to me, and it's not because I do, anything. It's just because I play the game and you can chat with one another. I have that shit muted. It's the most toxic community. Anything, if you lose a game, you have another player trying to join in your chat and even send you messages like, you're a fucking idiot. You ruined this entire game. I have all that shit blocked. It's such a toxic community where people think they're just the fucking best. And, some people haven't learned how to understand no. Some people haven't understand how to learn, you know what, maybe you're not so great. Because it's a different generation. I get it. But it's frustrating as hell having to deal with people like that, and that's why I've shunned away from like shit like that.
Yeah, and I wish people who were like our age could give a message to the quote modern generation. I mean, in my opinion, they're spoiled rotten with all this tech shit because we grew up before all that stuff even existed.
Oh yeah, man. I even like try to tell my kids like they can't even understand the comprehension of not being able to have a cell phone. They're like, then how did you call someone? I'm like, I had to go home. Well, you know what I mean? Like I had to go home and like pick up the phone to like do the ring around thing, like 1, brrr, 7, brrr. Like they don't understand. Like they literally cannot comprehend like how that is even factual. They think like I'm telling them like a story from like fucking Dora or whatever. No one they literally cannot comprehend. Like that was real life. You know what I mean? That was how we existed.
Yeah, just like dial-up internet. Boop, boop, boop.
Oh man, dial-up internet. Oh man, fucking dial-up internet. Oh, if I tried to like just put my kids on dial-up internet for like 1 week, oh man, they would tear this house apart. Oh man, yeah, exactly. Dial-up internet, Jesus.
Oh boy, yeah, you better hope no. We had like dial-up internet before we got like high speed, and like some of my mom's relatives would get mad, like get off the freaking internet.
Oh yeah, you better. Hey, and that same phone I was talking about, you better not pick that shit up because that's your life is over at that point. You're grounded. You're in trouble.
Well, the only reason we would get a cell phone is like mostly for emergency purposes and mainly just to check like the price of gains when we're like at Goodwill or something, just browsing. That's mostly what we would use it for. A cell.
No, I didn't get a cell phone, so I was like 19, or I was about 18 or 19 years old, man. I was like already a senior in high school, and I didn't even know what to do with it. Like, I just played Snake on it most of the time, because I had like one of those old Cricket, like, well, I don't know what you have over there, but we have here is like a cell phone company called Cricket. It's pretty much like the most dumbed down version of a phone company you can get. And they had like one game on it, which was Snake. I used to play the fuck out of Snake. I used to play Snake from sun up to sundown, man. And I think all the things you can do on a phone now is insane.
Yeah. It's amazing how much technology's evolved in the last 30 years. I mean, some of the stuff that we see now, I would have never comprehend this shit, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Like my oldest son, he likes to play that. what's the game called? Clash of Clans or whatever. Is that what it's called? It's called Clash of Clans or Clash of something.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's like one of
Maybe
those
I'm
like
thinking of something called Clash of the Titans or something.
it's called Clash of the Clan. It's like anyway, like you like make your whole mobile defense against like another mobile defense, and like you like strategically like build your forces up and et cetera, et cetera. But it's one of those like pay to. That's another thing about those mobile games. It's all pay to play. Like you can't just play the game anymore. If it's free,
Yeah.
it's definitely not for free, and it can be free, but you're gonna spend a lifetime and a half to actually get to enjoy the game unless you really want to pay for it.
Yeah, it's like how games are not like complete anymore. You get like 60% of the game day one, and the remaining 40% is DLC. And honestly, I think this has gotten like way too out of control to stop, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse.
Absolutely, I completely 100% agree, man. And I've heard that same argument about people who like, you know, bitch and moan about Destiny, but I mean, Destiny's so good, I can't really argue with that shit. Like, I mean, I guess it's you have to take it at face value, especially for like if you're involved in that game series. So sometimes I hear people like talk that same shit about Destiny. So for me, it's hard to argue it. Like, I don't want to argue. I mean, because I think that it's justified, but I've seen myself argue about like Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Ultimate Edition. Like, but at the same time, you know, I kind of get both sides, but Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, like that to me was a blatant slap in the face.
Yeah. If Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Ultimate Edition ends up becoming like super cheap, like on a PSN sale, I would love to hear like your thoughts on it.
Oh, I'm not getting it, man. There's no fucking way. I mean, I don't care. A gun to my head, I'd be like, go ahead and pull the trigger, dude. I'm done. I'm out. I mean, peace out, man. I'm done. I'm not buying it. Oh, it's free? Kill me. I'm not doing it. It's just to me that I understand like the Destiny thing. Like I've heard people like, oh, well, that's on the disc and it's these DLCs are like $20 and it's like 3 missions. Like, I get it, but to me, when it comes to Destiny, it was like it worked in the context of the entirety of the story, and like it still like opened up to like new loot, to new things. Like it wasn't just the context of the 3 stories, like those 3 stories or 4 stories or whatever to add. Like it added also to the multiplayer. It added also more to like there was even a raid that was opened up. It was more that opened up into collecting like new weapons, et cetera, et cetera. It wasn't just like the few missions that were open all day. Like so much more opened up on that game after like $20 DLC, if that's what you can call it.
Yeah. I look forward to your thoughts on the Destiny 2 beta since I sent you a key for that.
Oh yeah, man, I need to get around to that. And hey, all right. So my thoughts on Destiny 2 thus far is all right. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I think I'm gonna be disappointed. I'm gonna be disappointed. As much as a Destiny fan that I am, that I've gotten so far away from Destiny because usually I haven't played Destiny at all. Like I haven't streamed it, and honestly, I haven't played it at all. I think that my problem with that game is that I played it so much. And when I'm talking about so much, I'm talking like in the 1,000 hours range. I played it that much. From the raids to the gameplay to everything. Like, I mean, the Prison of Elders, I played it so much. I'm scared that I'm going to turn that game on again from Destiny 2, willing to go back into that full force and be like, oh man, this is the same game again. What am I doing? You know what I mean? I'm excited for it. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like I've played it. I mean, and there's people out there who played it 10 times more than I have, right? But I have played it so much where, like, for example, let's get this clear. Like, I played Overwatch like crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just dropped my little lighter. I played Overwatch so crazy. I took a little break from Overwatch, right? I played The Last of Us Left Behind. I played another game. I forgot what it was. Played a couple little games, just taking a break from Overwatch. And now, like, it's kind of hard for me to go back to Overwatch. Even though I just booted it up and I played it. I actually had a lot of fun with it. But I guess I just needed that separation from the game to realize like I don't like it as much. I guess because I was addicted to it, to have that like separation from it, be like, hey, there's so many other games that you're missing out on. There's so many things that you're missing, and you being addicted by this game, like you're missing out on all these great games, dude. Like check out these great games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just hate. I think one thing I will say, well, I have 2 points. I'll get to this first one. Like, I know how people like to companies put like 100%, like Donkey Kong Country being 100% to get a perfect ending, but still they need to think about the normal people who just want to just play the game and enjoy it and not be perfect and get 100%. And my second point is, well, this like online needing to update and servers to maintain, and just companies are not thinking about the long term, and that's why the Switch worries me. Long after Nintendo abandons the Switch, years from now, if your system needs to update or like need to be sent in to be serviced, you're screwed, because with the Switch, the game data is not saved onto the card, which is so screwed up and ass backwards in my opinion, and it's saved onto the system, so you're basically screwed when Nintendo stops supporting it.
Yeah. So the Switch, it's there's a lot of online stuff.
Yeah, you have online, but even though you have physical media, it doesn't save like to the car like a DS or 3DS game would. It's saved to the system's internal memory. And like a buddy of mine, he had his Switch bricked. I'll post his video in the chat after the stream is done. He had to have his Switch sent into Nintendo. He was worried about losing his save data. He said, Nintendo rep say, we can possibly back up your data, but we can't guarantee it. But luckily they did, and I just wish Nintendo had gone the saving to the card. Then I wouldn't be worried so much.
I didn't know that was the case, man. I had actually no idea. That actually makes me like not want to Switch at all at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I like the idea of having to take a on the go and all that, since there's a lot of Wii U games that I would want to play that hopefully get ported to Switch. I'm surprised Nintendo didn't announce a Wii U Smash port to the Switch while we wait on a new intro. I mean, it's going to be a while before we see Smash 5 and Mario Kart 9, so this is going to hold us over until then.
Oh, don't even get me started on Mario Kart, man. That Mario Kart 8 Deluxe pisses me off. Fucking over the hills, man. Oh my god. That's what the game should have been from the fucking get-go, okay? Yeah. That's what it should have been from the get-go. To tell me that, like, it's the exact same game, except for now you can hold 2 items, which, let's be real, that changes the whole game. To be able to hold 2 items, that makes it a whole new game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I wanted for, man. I mean, I know that sounds crazy. I mean, honestly, that's kind of what I want to Switch for, is for that new Mario Kart game. Holding 2 items, it changes the whole, like, competitiveness of that game. It really changes it, man.
Well, with Black Friday coming up, maybe there might be some good deals. And did you ever play the original Mario Kart back on Super Nintendo back in the day?
Oh man, did I? Oh Jesus, man!
I could never beat the Special Cup though. Never.
No, I played a lot of Mario Kart on Super Nintendo. I didn't own it till years later. Buddies of mine down the street when I was a kid owned it, and I used to go over their house and play it all the time. And it was 2 brothers, Michael and Naaman, and Naaman used to destroy me at that game, man. I don't care how bad or how much I practice when, like, hey man, I'm going to the bathroom, we can play. Man, that dude would destroy me at that game, big time, every time. But Super Mario Brothers on the Super Nintendo, oh man, I have a lot of memories with the game. And I show that to my kids now, and they're like, "What the fuck is this?" I'm like, "This is where it started from, man. Like, this
for us, yeah.
You know what I mean? This is where it come from." They're like, "This is boring. This is terrible." Like, I want to play Minecraft or whatever they want to play.
Yeah, but they don't get that that's fun for us. even though they don't see that.
I mean, and to be real and to be honest, if you gave me an option to play Mario Kart 8 or play Mario Kart Super Nintendo, I want to play Mario Kart 8. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a big thing with about retro collecting and people playing retro games. Like, I have no problem with that, man. If you really love it that much, cool beans, man. Do your thing. But to me, I want to play what's new. I want to play what's new and fun. I want to play a game that I missed out on. I don't want to play a game that I already played like 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 times before when I was a child. You know what I mean? I already played it. I already experienced it. I want to do something new.
But there are some games that you can play like over and over, like the original Super Mario Brothers, that just never gets old. And I was going to ask you this and see what you thought. With the upcoming SNES Classic, with people just being able to hack it and add games, I'm surprised a lot of like big collectors haven't made videos on this. Do you think a lot of collectors should be worried that their physical cards might go down in value because I'll just add it on to my mini like for free?
All right, when it comes to retro collecting, like these are my thoughts. Like, there's that community for it, and that community is never going to die. I don't care what comes out. I don't care what emulation things come out. I don't care how easy it is on your PC. I don't care how easy it is for the new Nintendo thing to come out. There's always and forever going to be that community who wants to have the legitimate cartridge, the legitimate disc, the legitimate thing that disc came in. That's never going to stop. So for you to ask if like that's going to affect it, I don't think so. I really don't, man. All I'm going to say is I think it's going to make it worse because the SNES Mini coming out, it's going to drive people crazy. Just for that console or that emulation piece of hardware to exist.
Yeah. That's why I'm going to be camping out the evening prior to releasing. Yeah, I'll bring my camera along so I can document all this craziness in the end. If you don't, I'll say this to people watching right now or who will be can you see if there are people who are like have viewers right now?
Oh no! I'm just recording this, man. I'm gonna put it up tomorrow.
Okay. So this won't be up till later. Okay, well.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'll just get back to what I was saying. If you don't get it there like before, like midnight or earlier, you're not getting one.
And like, that's the thing. Like, I look. There's a different community, I guess. Escaping myself, like from what I understand, that thing is. I would never stand in line for something like that. Like, I wanted an NES Mini when they came out. Like, I wanted one. I'm not gonna front. Like, I wanted one. I was like, oh, that's cool.
I mean, if Nintendo wasn't so bullheaded and stupid and limiting supply on purpose, which I'll have to find this one video that I watched a long time ago. It's really good. You'll have to watch it. But yeah, I wish companies would get out of the mindset of limiting supply on purpose to build up demand, which is so stupid because. Like, when people saw the trailer for the NES Mini, people wanted it, and they still want it, and now they're pissed off because they can't get it, and they got to go on eBay and get it for, like, 3-4 times the price because it's been discontinued. I mean, they could still make NES Minis, even though the SNES Mini is coming out. And personally, I don't see an N64 Mini happening because there's no way they can get Conker's Bad for a Day and GoldenEye because of licensing. And, of course, Conker's is a mature game, and at least a third of the games would all be Nintendo related. Mario Kart, Super Mario 64, Mario Party, and such, and Smash Bros, and all the games like that.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I get it. I understand it. It's cool to have those things, right? It's cool to have that. And like I said, I'm not going to front. I wanted an NES Mini when it came out, to a degree. I didn't want it where I knew I had to stand outside of a store for a few hours to get one. My whole philosophy was, okay, cool. You know what? It's a big thing. Everybody has one. I can wait. But then it turned making me wait to get one means I can't even get one at all. Nah, man, that really triggered me the wrong way. I hate to use the word triggered. That's going in the wrong direction. But that really pissed me off. Because I wouldn't have mind buying one. I just didn't want to wait outside in the line to get one. And now I'm so angry about it. Like, I feel so spiteful about it. I literally wouldn't mind waiting in line to get an SNES Mini just to fucking throw that shit up in the air like T-ball and bat
Yeah.
the fuck out of it, like just for fucking fun, just out of spite. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh well, you might find this funny, and buddy of mine, he's serious about this. He says if I get an SS Mini, I'm gonna take it out in the woods and shoot it and film it. He's serious, dude. And if he does, I'll have him. If he doesn't want to create a YouTube channel, I'll put it on mine, even though I'll probably get a lot of backlash for it. But I don't care. That'd be funny to see. But
Hey man, hell yeah.
Nintendo's gonna be like, yeah, we don't care.
Yeah, no, for that they won't care. But but that, I mean, I think that would be more entertaining, like than seeing no disrespect, but I know you had a video about getting your NES Mini, but I think that would be a more entertaining than seeing someone get an SNES Mini versus seeing someone take that shit, throw it up in the air, and just whap. You know what I mean? Just and I would feel like more satisfied with that, and be like, yeah, I would feel like, yeah.
I mean, if I had the money to burn, yeah, I would buy one just to destroy it. But I'm buying one to play it, and the Retro Bro knows that I want one.
Yeah,
and he keeps saying, "Buy a Retro Pie, man."
But that's the thing though, man. Like, all right, I'll be real. I'll be honest with you, man. Like, I never messed around with like retro or emulation gear or anything like that. I knew about it. Don't get me wrong. I knew about it, but I just always just felt like it was just not for me.
Dirty,
okay?
yeah.
And then when I finally got the thing that I got from the Retro Bro, the Retro Bro Pie or whatever,
yeah.
Man, there's so many games. There's so many, and they run so fluently. The sound quality, everything about them, and I'm like, who would spend so much money to have so much of a limited library just because it's the official thing? To have, other than having something like this that you can spend a little bit more money on, but to have so much more, I get it. I mean, I understand. There is that. I mean, there's even a part of me, like I said, I even wanted an NES Mini. Like, it made me feel like this is the official thing. This is cool, But after having something like that, like now I realize none of that means anything to me.
And there was one eBay listing I just saw a couple of hours ago. Someone opened an NES Mini, took out the board that was in it, and put a Retro Pie inside of it, and just sealed it back up and sold it.
Did it have like the same hardware and stuff?
It was the same. They covered up the controller ports, and they put like ports in the back, and I think they added like a few other slots for something. I don't know what. But yeah, I think it sold for like $50, and it had like the Retro Pie menu and stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, those like mini things or whatever, like I think they're so interesting just because they have like the HDMI port on it. I think that's what I was so intrigued about when like they were announced. I was like, an HDMI port? Oh hell yeah, I can put that shit in my Elgato and record that shit. But the fucking the Retro Bro Pie, whatever you call it, has the same thing. So I'm like, like I don't really see the point of it. But I mean, I won't lie. I'm not gonna lie and tell you that I don't want one. If I could find one, like if it came back on the shelves where I didn't have to wait in line, the shelf was fully stocked where I could just walk in and buy one. Absolutely, I would have bought one. No, hands down, I would have bought one.
I'm just hoping Nintendo keeps their word this time, but honestly, you know where I'm going with this. You can't trust anything companies say nowadays. Yeah, we're gonna make significantly, and I'll kind of copy what a buddy of mine said, and I'll have to send you his video. He's like, yeah, we're gonna be significantly more right. And he's just like, yeah, this is a nice I can't even talk. A weasel word for we're gonna try, and they're not gonna.
And I completely accept that, and I'm fine with that. SNES Mini come out, I literally don't care. I didn't make a video about it. I didn't talk about it. I have no context about it. I don't care. The NES Mini came out, like, how I first heard about it? My wife actually sent me a link about it and was like, hey, she was like, check this out. And I'm like, okay. I was like, I have like our original NES system in a box with like a ton of shoebox full of games. Like, I don't care about that. Like, I have my own NES, the original NES. I have
I
like
mean,
Donkey Kong and blah blah. She's like, "Well, it's HDMI," or she didn't say that, but I read
yeah.
the link and I was like, "Oh, it
Well,
has HDMI. Huh?
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
now I'm interested. It has HDMI. That's kind of cool." Um,
well, I'll phrase it like one of my other buddies, Van Brune 20 said, just to have like, it's just tiny, just to have it to fit in your hand. It's just cool, even though it's technically a RetroPie emulator. It's just cool.
yeah, and I mean, I've seen the videos on it, and I'm not gonna lie, like, the hardware is kind of cool to be able to, you know, do all the pausing and saving as it is. And I'm like,
Yeah, save
yeah,
states. Yeah,
well, RetroPie does the exact same fucking thing on on almost a better scale, if you ask me. But
yeah.
like I said, I haven't experienced the NES Mini, but I've seen some cool shit that it does, man. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna front. If I found one for 20, 30, or $40 or whatever it was going for on the shelf, I would absolutely buy it, hands down, no issues.
Well, probably you'll find one in 10, probably 5, 10 years from now after all the hype dies down and people don't want them anymore. So maybe you can find one then.
Yeah, and at that point, I don't think I'd fucking care.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's a hyped up thing, and I get it and I understand it. Like, I mean, like I
Companies are
said,
good at doing that.
oh, Nintendo's the best. Nintendo is the best, man. I mean, they deserve an award just for that shit down, hands down alone. For that shit, they deserve some kind of fucking scammer award, whatever you want to call it. They're really good at that stuff, man.
Yeah, what I miss is the old Sega versus Nintendo advertising when both sides would bash each other.
Oh man, and I always sided with Sega, forever and ever, man. I would like literally want to fucking punch people if they just talk shit about Sega, man. I'd really would just want a fist fight.
Yeah, I remember one commercial Sega used Sonic and then they used Mario Kart, and I remember the Donkey Kong Country commercial, and then at the very end it says, "Where are you gonna find it? Not on Sega, not on 32X, not on CD-ROM. It's only for S." They should have said it's only on SNES, bitches. But of course, Nintendo's not gonna say that. Kids only up.
I would have bought that shit just cause now. That would have made me a Nintendo fan right then and there. Yeah.
Yeah, I always love the Sega Genesis does what Sega does what Nintendo don't. The whole Genesis jingle.
Yeah. And like Sega, I mean, like I was subscribed to. Do you remember Game Pro magazine?
Yeah.
Oh man, I used to get that magazine like every fucking month, and to read some of those ads. I mean, to think about reading those ads like as a child now,
Yeah.
it's crazy, man. It's crazy to see like how we were like kind of almost manipulated to a degree. You know what I mean? The same of the shit that they would come up with like to appease us Sega fans or us Nintendo fans. It's crazy, man.
And like the modern generation, they can't appreciate magazines like we can because we grew up without internet. I mean, that's how we got our news. I mean, we didn't care that it was old or not. I mean,
yeah,
we
but
enjoyed reading.
you got some of the well, I guess in like the modern day thing, you got some of the YouTubers who are more, Sony type of people and more Microsoft type of people. So it's a modern day, I guess, equivalent of something like that.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I can't really think of anybody who's like that.
Yeah, I know some people who are camp like Nintendo, like my buddy Van Buren 20. He's like camp like Nintendo 100%, and he went over to like one of his family's house, and he was trying out the whole like PlayStation move and whatever. And I don't really know a lot of people who are like pro Xbox and pro Sony, but of course this whole console war is just silly. Like I own the original Wii, Xbox 360, and a PS3, and that'll probably be the only time in a generation that I owned all three current consoles of that generation because I wanted each one for specific reasons.
And that's my biggest argument with people who are fanboys, and I get it if you're a fanboy, because I'm not gonna lie, I was a fanboy. I was a Microsoft Xbox 360 fanboy. Okay, I'm saying it now. I admit it. I was okay, but okay, I was an Xbox 360 and a Wii owner, and I love both consoles for separate reasons. You cannot get either one of those things on both consoles. Um,
And and before I forget, I didn't mean to cut you off. How many original 360s did you go through?
3.
Three. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, all right. So my first one got the Red Ring of Death when a buddy of mine let me borrow Def Jam Icon. Do you remember that game?
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember you telling me this story like on a stream one time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fighting game that was like with Def Jam, like rap artists, whatever.
Yeah.
And he let me borrow it, and like he was like giving me shit because we worked together at the time, and we were working. And I came back, I was like, man, fuck you, man, you're gay, like fucked up my Xbox. And I was pissed, man. I'm not gonna lie, like I was like having like a fucking breakdown at some point. I was like, man, I can't use my Xbox. What am I gonna do with my life? I was like 22 or some shit like that. I don't know. But anyway, I sent the shit in, and I had to pay like I think what the price was like 100 or 150 for it to be repaired. But they gave you
Oh wow.
something like that. But they gave you a year warranty because I didn't buy the
Yeah.
warranty when I bought it. I was like, oh, warranty, fuck that. This is a new thing. I'm not gonna need to pay for a warranty. So I didn't get the warranty, and I had to pay for it to be fixed, and so I paid for the warranty, and then within the first 6 months, I think I got the Red Ring of Death again, and I had to
Yeah.
send it again, but it was covered at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I got a warranty for both my 360 Slim and the PS3 Super Slim, and of course they're long expired, and I just don't really feel the need to do that with Nintendo products other than the original NES. A lot of the Nintendo products have been like very reliable. It's something that I guess they have a good track record of making good stuff.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I think that the Xbox was the first one that kind of like gave you a sense of doubt if you bought their console. Same
And
thing.
honestly, I think Microsoft rushed because they were in a hurry to beat the PS3. That's what I was feeling. They just wanted to be the first out of the gate. And of
Well,
course, they paid the price for it. I don't know how much money the whole Red Ring issue cost them.
I don't know. I don't know how much either, but I'm pretty sure that
A lot.
I'm pretty sure it's a lot. But at the same time, at the end of the day, I think if you wage that battle, even with that involved, I still think Microsoft came on top sales wise. PS3 was too expensive when it was announced. There wasn't that much there. I mean, we got some of the great titles that we know from Sony in the PS3 lifetime, right?
And
Like
and I think we
Uncharted
had
and
three original Xbox 360 revisions before the Slim came out. I think there was three different boards. They think uh, Jasper and two other chipsets before the Slim came out.
I don't remember. I think I vaguely remember when the Slim came out, but still, like All right, so here's my story with the PS3. Okay, so when I tell you I owned three revisions, because the Red Ring happened twice. The
Yeah,
third time I got an Xbox was my house got broken into. When I first met my wife, she was my girlfriend at the point or that time, and when I was living with her, they broke in. They stole my TV. They stole my Xbox. I brought my TV when I moved in with her. They stole her TV. They stole her laptop, etc., etc. And long story short, she felt bad because she wanted to like replace my gaming console because like all I did was play Xbox 360 at that point. And she was like, you know what? Why don't you try out that PS thing or whatever, boss? You don't know. And I was like, all right, fine, no problem. I'll try the PlayStation. So I got the PS3 and I was so disappointed. And that was right when Uncharted came out, like when their flagship franchise. And I always wanted to try like Resistance. Remember when Resistance came out? And I wanted to
Yeah, I
try.
remember that game.
I wanted to try those games, and I was like, "Cool, you know what? No problem." Played Uncharted. I didn't hate it. I actually really liked it. Resistance. I ended up playing all three of those. I actually like the third one in the series better than any of the other ones. But I got to the point where I was like, I just don't like PlayStation. I want another Xbox. I ended up getting another one for like a birthday or something like that for my wife or a girlfriend at the time. And That's what, and then, like I said, I ended up getting a PS4, and it made me appreciate Sony so much more for what they are, and like the games that they had, and it made me like go back and play my PS3 more. But I had a PS3 that was like 20 gigabytes. I couldn't play shit on that thing, man. I had to delete everything just to play one game. Every time I got a new game on the PS3, I had to delete everything that I had just to play a new game.
You remember the original Xbox 360 hard drives? I think it was, let's see, 20, 40, 60, 120, and I think the biggest original hard drive on the original 360, I think, was 320, I believe.
My original one, I want to say was 60. I want to say it was 60, but like I said, the whole thing got stolen and scrapped. So the gift that I got from my my now wife, she got me just a flat out one. There was no hard drive or nothing. It had like 4 gigabytes on it. I mean, I appreciate the gesture. I'm just she bought me like the 4 gigabyte one. It had like no external hard drive or nothing. Like I had to like go to a gaming store and buy a hard drive to put on it.
Yeah, even PS3 is done that. I get being cheap, but then you got to buy a hard drive anyway. Just add a 120 gig hard drive and add like $50 on it or something, because it evens out anyway.
Yeah, well, when PS3 came out, it was like, if I'm not mistaken, it was like $700 or something crazy, right?
Yeah, they had I think it was trying to remember which came out. It was I'm not sure which came out first. He was I know the original backwards compatible, the 60 gigabyte. Then they had 40. Then for some reason they had 20 gigabyte, 80 gigabyte, 120, 160, and I think that was the last of the original models before the Slim came out, because I think you can put up to I believe a terabyte in both the fat and the Slim PS3s as far as far as hard drive is concerned.
Yeah, and that always terrified me of doing that.
I did it with my PS4. It's not really that hard.
Well, the PS4, I guess I didn't mind it. Well, PS4 is the one that I minded. Actually, I take that back and redact that. PS4 was the one that I minded the most, because that was when I started playing Destiny, and I had like the Gallahorn, when the Gallahorn was like, I don't know if you follow Destiny or not, if you know what the Gallahorn is.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
It's like the most epic gun when Destiny was like very new. And I had the Gallahorn, which is a very rare weapon to come across. If you have the Gallahorn, you were the man. And that's when I was like, oh, hell no, I'm not updating that shit. If I lose my Gallahorn, like, I'm nothing anymore. You know what I mean?
Well, what I did with my PS4 is I got a 2 terabyte, and I sold the 500 gigabyte on eBay, which pretty much paid for the 2 terabyte, which I bought, and I think I got about maybe, I want to say 1.7 or maybe 1.8 terabytes after I formatted it. So, and it's funny how they advertise like 120 or 250 gigs, even though sometimes you're not going to get exactly that. And honestly, I think that's misleading.
Yeah, but my PS4 was 500 gigs, but thank Jesus, man, they did the external hard drive, because I probably would have never had the balls to expand that. I'd have been too terrified. But the PS3, man, I couldn't do it. There was too much to it, and then you had to like download the software or the firmware from Sony and all this, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, I didn't enjoy my PS3 that much to ever actually do it. And I have the original, like the fat one, where you could like play PS2 and et cetera, et cetera. And I've actually even explored doing it now, but at the same time, I don't really care. If I really want to play some more PS3 games, I think that I'd rather just invest like in one of the slim ones that have like 120 gigabytes on it.
Yeah, and you can still play PS1, but I will agree that it's bullcrap that PS4 can't play physical PS2 games, since PS2 games were put on the DVD disc, and the PS2 can. I don't know why I keep saying PS2. The PS4 can play physical DVD movies. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But of course, they did the whole remaster. Oh, this is our workaround. And what are your thoughts on Microsoft finally adding original Xbox games to the Xbox One backwards compatible library?
I don't care, man. I don't care, man.
I saw people went like nuts over that.
I mean, I get it. I can understand it. Because really, I think that's where a lot of us fell in love with Microsoft.
Yeah, the original Xbox. Yeah.
And that's where I did. That's where I did. I mean, especially with Halo. That was like my favorite game of like, that's pretty much my favorite game of all time at this point. It depending on what day you ask me, by the way. But I can understand the appreciation of it. I can understand why people are getting so excited over it. But at the same time, I question it big time. Like, and you know what I mean?
It's funny. It's funny they can never answer the and.
You know what I mean? But you get what I'm saying. Like, I appreciate it, but at the same time, I don't care either. It's just not my thing, man. I mean, I don't mind it as much as I guess I would. I mean, the thing is, like, to me, like, I'm not so big into the retro thing. Like, I think so many people now are into retro way more than they used to be about 2 years ago. And it's got everybody's dick so hard to be able to play retro games for no if and or reason. Like, and let's be honest. Before YouTube, nobody really cared that much about retro. I'm not going to say that there wasn't. There was a small community or a big community, however you want to judge it, and people were interested in retro games. I'm not going to say that there wasn't this community, but after YouTube and how much gamers have gotten
exposure,
exactly, it's like it's turned this retro community into like blood-sucking thieves, maniacal, manipulative people. You know what I mean? It's turned people into lunatics, if you ask my opinion.
Yeah, and a lot of people tried to, push the legit way to play, like PSN, Virtual Console, but everybody's like, emulation. Like, I only do emulation in only certain like circumstances, like Game Gear, for instance. Like, it had bad hardware, and there's never going to be like any type of like I don't know if you heard. I think I sent you mentioned this to you before about this company called Jrpg. They make like cool stuff that you can put in your Super Nintendo. You can play Sega Genesis, NES, and Game Boy Advance on there. And now they're coming out with this new thing called the Super Retro Boy that looks like a Game Boy, but you can play all three Game Boy generations on it.
Yeah, and like, I'm not gonna front. There was like what's it called? It's called like the Retron 5 or Retro 5.
Oh yeah, Retron 5. Yeah,
Retron 5. I'm not gonna.
I was gonna get that, but I've heard like iffy things about it. I was like, nah.
I don't even own a library of things to put that on. Okay, I'll be fair. I'll be honest. I don't even own any retro games, but it kind of made me want to get one where I could like start collecting those games.
Yeah.
But then I realized I would much rather put my money on something new that's coming out versus buying that shit. That's my opinion. That's my take on it. Look, I have nothing against retro gaming. I loved retro gaming. Keyword loved. ED. Past tense. I don't care anymore, man. I played those games. Some of the games I missed out on, but I'd much rather play a new game on my PS4, my Xbox One, or my Wii U versus spending another $40 on a Sega Genesis game that I really don't care that much about. Yeah. It was cool. I missed out on it. I want to play it real quick. I could do that on emulation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or people can get cool collections like the Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection on the PS3 or the 360, or you can download like digital, like for cheap, for like $10-$20, depending on the game, of course.
Right. I mean, I've seen like Sonic CD floating around for a long time. I played Sonic CD to death. I could care less to go back and revisit that game. I played it so much, and I was confused then. I'll probably be confused now on how to play that fucking game. You know what I mean? Like, I've played it. I'm done. I don't want to go back and revisit the game. I experienced it. I get it. It's a fun game. It's a great game, but I don't want to spend $50 to just say, hey, look, guys, I got Sega CD on the Sega CD. I don't care. I don't care.
Well, of course, now I think you can download that game now on PSN and Xbox Live as well, too, I believe, for like really dirt cheap.
Well, you can't see it, but I'm going to show this on the video. I'm showing this disc. Okay, I'm going to put it in front of my webcam. This is Sega CD for PC, and this came out in like for Windows 95. Okay,
Oh, I remember Windows.
this came out for Windows 95. My youngest daughter, what she wanted for her birthday, she wanted, and I quote, she said, "I want a bike, I want a desk, and I want a rolly chair," which is like a computer chair. And so we got her all that. My wife had this like old computer that she hasn't been using, but it's a decent computer. It has like Windows 10 on it. So we got her her desk, we got her rolly chair, and I was like, "Do you want to play a game on it?" And she was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I was like, "Hey, do you want to play this?" And I showed the disc, and it was Sonic, and she was like, "No." And I was like, "Why not? You know, this is a good game, man." But no, she wants Minecraft, of course. Like these kids like Minecraft. And
You
so
remember games on a floppy disk? Remember you had to insert those and install them?
I wasn't a computer guy back then, man. I remember all right, so I'll tell you my story about computer gaming starting. I remember we were in a game store. It was like remember Electronics Boutique?
Yeah. Oh, I miss that store.
Yeah, man, that was the fucking place, bro. So we were in there and they had Doom for like $2 on PC, and I was like, "Hey, we got a PC." You know, so I picked it up and I was like, "Hey, you know, Dad, can I have this shit?" And we get home and it's like, it doesn't work. Like you put the disc in, but nothing goes. I'm like, I don't know how this shit works. I didn't know he had to install it and do all this stuff. But anyway, at the time, my stepmom knew a guy who could install this shit, et cetera, et cetera. And he came over, he installed it, and like I played Doom for all of about 5 seconds, like trying to play like the, you know, the WASD and the enter or space bar for fire, and I was like, I don't understand this shit. But no, PC gaming, man, was too fucking hard, man. I remember playing Doom on a PC, and I was like, all games are fucking hard on PC, and that's why I shunned PC gaming, because I was like, oh man, all games on PC are just ridiculously hard.
Yeah, but I tell you, old school like console ports on PC friggin' sucked. The most infamous one in my opinion is probably Street Fighter 2 on DOS. Oh man, the frame rate was so bad, and you also had loading times as well, waiting for each stage to load. I'll have to send you a video on YouTube later. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I've never really played with like, you know, like I said, like that was my first and like last experience with gaming on the PC. But like, there's a guy I like to watch LGR lazy game reviews where he just like talks about DOS and all this stuff, and like I don't know, I guess we weren't lucky enough to have like a good computer that could run all that stuff. But like that was
Yeah.
literally the first game and the last game I tried on PC till I was like, you know, 2 years ago when I finally got like a decent PC for gaming. But man, that stuff, like, I tell you, man, Doom is a great game, but Doom traumatized me. It traumatized me, man. That was the first game I played on PC, and it just like made me think PC games were just evil and vile. You know, I'm not thinking that, you know, games are evil and vile, because I mean, look what I play, but it just made me think like games were like on the PC were just, you know, made by Satan or something.
Yeah, it's funny what would be considered a modern computer back then and now is like obviously outdated.
Yeah. And then my kids have gotten into like Minecraft like crazy lately. And don't ask me why. I don't know. Like my older kids have been playing Minecraft for forever, and they're completely cool with it. But my younger kids, it all started because my youngest daughter was like, "Hey man, I want to play Minecraft like the older ones do." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." And I bought it on my tablet and I gave it to her.
Yeah.
And
I
she's
can't watch
addicted
like
to it.
long streams of that. I got to watch that in like short bursts because I'll get bored.
I remember when the Minecraft phase was going around, I still denounced it. I was like, no, this is bullshit. It's gonna phase out. Nobody cares about this stuff. And then I finally tried it. Okay, I downloaded it on my PC, my actual PC that I'm using right now, on the Windows Store for like $10 or $8 because it was on sale on Black Friday or something stupid. I was like, yeah, I'll try it out. I played it for all of about 15 minutes. I was like, nope, this is stupid. I got nothing to do with this. But I get it. Now that I see my kid, like I watch my younger kids like play around with it, I'm like, it's the equivalent level of like Legos in a digital world. And I watch them like build castles and stuff, and I'm like, as I'm watching them do that, I'm like, this is still stupid. You know what I mean? This is still dumb. Like, I still don't get it. Good for you. I'm glad you're having fun. But in my opinion, if you ask me, sweetie, I love you, but this is stupid.
Yeah, someone needs to make like a YouTube video about like retro versus like modern like likes. It's kind of like we were saying earlier. You show like to your kids like this is what we liked when we were younger, and they're probably thinking, how could you like something like that? But they don't like understand like we were saying earlier. For us, this was cool, even though they think it's dumb, and like vice versa. What's cool for them now, we don't like.
Right, exactly. I even like was in GameStop. What was that? 2 days ago, I saw like a Mega Bloks. That's like the knockoff
yeah.
of Legos. They had
Yeah.
a Destiny set of like one of like the spaceships with like a character, and it was like 336 pieces or something crazy like that, and it was like $10, like marked down to $10. I was like, oh, I want this, and my kids were looking at me like, why? And I'm like, no, I'm like, you don't get it. Like, this would be so much fun to build. And they're like, you could just play Minecraft. And I'm like, no, I'm like, I don't want to play Minecraft. Like, I want to build like actual physical Legos. You know what I mean?
It's like I said earlier. I think because kids have grown up with like digital and internet, they're so like attached to it. Like we're not.
Yeah. And I don't let my kids like be so close to the internet, et cetera, et cetera. Like I try to keep them like grounded, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, it's even though I try to do that, like they're still so influenced by like their friends who are so into the internet. You know what I mean? It's hard to like keep them separated from that with like also hearing from their friends like what's on YouTube and what's like like what their friend is watching. And I mean, even some of my kids' friends like do YouTube. They have like thousands and thousands of subscribers too, and I'm like, this kid's like fucking 12. Like, what do I need to do, man? Play Minecraft apparently.
I don't know. It just if you put Minecraft on your channel, you get tons of views for some reason.
Fucking apparently, I've seen it. I've witnessed it. This is actuality.
Yeah. Like I said, I can't watch that for hours. I got to watch maybe like 10, 15 minutes of it, then I'm done. I can't just sit there and watch it. It'll put me to sleep.
Yeah. But nah, man, they do watch a lot of. I mean, I try to put my kids in the realm of like things that I like, and they just don't get it, and they try to put me in the realm of things that they like, and I sometimes I don't get it, but I can kind of see where they're coming from.
Yeah, we're coming from. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you wish you could put them in like our shoes to what we used to like, but you can't do that.
Well, I try, and sometimes they get it. I mean, to a degree, like I tried to get them to play like some of the old games that I downloaded on my Wii. Remember, like Wii, like the
Virtual console, yeah.
The virtual console was like really like at least affordable, I guess, at that point. So I turned my old Wii on, and I had like Donkey Kong Country. And I had actually Super Mario RPG in the 7 stars or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I was playing it, and my oldest son was like, "This looks amazing." And I was like, "Yeah, go for it." And like maybe 20 minutes into it, he's like, "This is boring." I'm like, I'm like, dude, like you gotta give it a chance. You gotta give it time. You gotta build into it. You know what I mean? It's like it's not a game that it's not like Smash Brothers. You know what I mean? You gotta give it time. But
like
anyway,
a lot of people like don't seem to know is like where Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi's store series and all that. That's that original game Mario RPG. That's where all their inspiration came from. Is that game right there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I even have what's the one that I have? Mario. Have you played Mario and Luigi Dream Team?
My mom tried and it was that, and also I think the one before that, Bowser's Inside Story. She couldn't beat, and I'm trying to think, was it well, this newest one coming out is actually a remake of the GBA game. I'm trying to think. Oh crap! I'm trying to think of the whole title, but I can only think of half of it. It's Bowser's Minions and hold on, I'll pull up GameStop.
Yeah, I remember when the Bowser's Inside Story came out. I was actually really interested in that. At that time, I didn't have a DS or anything like that of my own. My son had one, but the Mario and Luigi Dream Team, like I actually personally was like Now I got a DS because my Vita got stolen, and I tried it, and I was like, this is boring as hell. Like, it's taking too long. All the battles are like way too easy. This is not like an RPG or a time based RPG game that I thought it was going to be, like, you know, Mario RPG or the Mario and the Seven Stars or whatever you want to call it. It was way too slow, way too just too easy. Just didn't fit the bill of what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I believe I believe the game I'm thinking of is it's either Partners in Time or something else. I'm about to see in a second. I'm like you. If I once I have a thought in my head, if I don't look it up to okay, here we go. Yeah, it's Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga and Bowser's Minions. Yeah, it was a game that was originally on Game Boy Advance, and they're remaking it for the DS. And Nintendo's been doing that a lot lately, I've noticed.
Well, Nintendo does that forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. It's always
But a lot of people want two things that never happened: Super Mario Sunshine remake and
no.
Lost Galaxy HD remaster. Those have still yet to happen.
Both of them can never happen. As far as like, I don't care, man. I mean, I played Sunshine, and that was the first time that I realized, like, I just don't care for Nintendo anymore. From coming from Mario 64 to that, I mean, like I said, I bought my GameCube for Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. That was the reason I bought a GameCube, was just for that game alone. And that's not even a Nintendo title.
Yeah, and I think that's the closest we'll ever get to a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake or remaster.
But it was a good fucking game, though. It was really solid. I mean, you know, for the time, by the way.
And also, I found out that Hideo Kojima does not like that version for some weird reason. Why, I do not know.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I'll have to look it up later. But yeah, that's what I've heard a lot of people say. He doesn't like that version. I don't know why.
That's interesting, because I think that was like the best version of that game.
Yeah,
in my opinion, anyway.
And since we're on the subject of I think Konami needs to do the whole Capcom thing and re-evaluate themselves, because after Silent Hills got canceled, because I know that pissed a lot of people off,
myself included.
Oh, you think you'll ever give PT another go?
Oh yeah. No, I've beaten that game before, that demo, as I should say. I beat it before, and that's what pissed me off so much, because I'm like, how do I not remember what the fuck to do? It hasn't been that long. But I'm not going to front. When I beat it the first time, I completely used all the info off the internet, because I didn't know what the fuck to do. A lot of people didn't know what to do. But, man, if that would have turned into something... Come on, man. That would have been easily, hands down, probably the best horror game of our generation. Yeah. Hands down.
It's a shame that people can always fantasize the whole, like, what if scenario, and it's a shame that the game never came to fruition. Maybe Kojima and what's his name, Del Toro will work on something. I think isn't he the one that's making Days Gone, or I'm probably thinking of something else.
I don't follow too much movie stuff too much nowadays.
Oh no, this is a game that Kojima's making. I can't think of the name. Right? I'm not sure if it's Days Gone or something else.
Maybe. Only thing I've heard about him in recent news was he was really pissed about the new Metal Gear Solid Survive. I guess it's like a zombie game or some shit. Yeah. That was the most recent news that I heard from him, was that.
And also, Keiji Inafune, who had a concept, they got bought by Level 5, so now they're one company now. I just hope he can bounce back after Mighty Number 9 bombed, and I think he overestimated the money that it would take to make a game, and also I think the fans got a little bit overhyped, and they can get pissed at me if they want to. I don't care. I think people get overhyped and they expect every game to be a quote masterpiece, and if it's not what they want, they get on YouTube and they throw a temper tantrum about it.
Well, that's a big part of media nowadays. It's like, everyone. That's another thing too, because everyone nowadays has a voice. Everyone nowadays has an opinion. And back in the day, we used to look to the mainstream for that. So now you have everyone who can voice out however they feel about something, topic, et cetera, et cetera. And I do think that hurts a lot of game sales sometimes. But I will say for Mighty Number, and the thing is, also, okay, I'll speak from my experience from Mighty Number 9. I have it. I haven't played it once. I recently just picked it up when PlayStation was doing that big sale. I think I picked it up for $3.99. I think it was $3.99, something like that. But I am all right. So here's the bad part about it is I'm automatically expecting to not like it before I even play it because of everything that I heard about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like I feel now that I can't even enjoy that game knowing the history around it, knowing how many people bashed it. It might be a great game, but I think I don't know how this sounds. It may sound like a bad thing to say, but I think that it probably might be a good game. But I think initially I'm going to go into it with negative thoughts just because of the aura around it. And I think that's the bad part about games nowadays because you can't sometimes even enjoy a game because you already have to have this opinion before you even play it.
Well, as long as you don't go into it thinking it's a like Mega Man type clone, as long as you go into it thinking like with a reasonable expectation in mind, I think you might come across liking it, and that's why I'm also worried for Bloodstain. A lot of my YouTuber friends are excited for that game as well, and that game kind of worries me. And also, it kind of makes me worry for Kickstarter going forward. And I don't know if you watched the video that the Retro Bro did when he was playing Mario Number 9, and he talked about Shenmue 3 as well. And I think people are going to get so overhyped for that game, not knowing what type of game it is, and the story is very slow paced, and just the only reason it got so much funding is because people have wanted Shenmue 3 for years, and and applause, they're finally getting it, and I'm happy for them. And just, I think with Kickstarter going forward, I think instead of having screenshots, people need to have a gameplay build ready, showing this is what the game is actually going to look like, instead of a few little screenshots here and there.
Yeah, but I mean, Kickstarter. You're never gonna get rid of Kickstarter. It's too established for people to. Let's be fair. Let's be honest. But for lack of a better term, it's called e-begging. And,
eBay,
and you're gonna get people who. You're gonna get people who will always give that empty promise. Okay. And that's what they're gonna do. That's what they're there for. They don't care about the end product. You're gonna get people who. Or con you people out of money, et cetera, et cetera. You're also not going to get that. You're also going to probably get a lot of legitimate products who probably will get passed over because people will just think that they're e-begging. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think the problem is with spiritual successors, I think they have such a hype of the original game that this is based on, whatever it may be. They're trying to hold it up to that pedestal that insert game here has, I'll use a ukulele. It's pretty good. It's pretty close to what Banjo Kazooie is, but a lot of people just didn't think it's going to have that same hype excitement that you had almost 20 years ago. And of course, you're not going to have that same hype excitement. Just like when the upcoming Final Fantasy VII Remake Episode 1 is coming out. I mean, we already know the story. We're just excited to play it with better graphics and such.
And I get you, and I completely concur, completely agree. Now, when it comes to Mighty Number 9, all right. So I'm actually all right. I know what I just said, but I'm also expecting it to be really good. But what I'm getting at is that I think that I'm initially going to just, no matter how good it is, I'm going to have bad thoughts about it.
Yeah, and expectation level.
I'm going to immediately judge it negatively because of everything that's been said about it.
I know, and I try not to have that mindset, even though a lot of YouTubers just, and that's what I was watching one of my YouTube buddies talk about this. People get like early review copies and they'll bash like the hell out of this game, even though it might have a day one patch later. So I mean, games are going to be buggy. I mean, even back in the day, games, of course, back in the day when games are buggy, that's how it was released. There was no such thing as patches, and
Oh yeah, if you released that game, then you were stuck with that shit
yeah,
forever and ever. But when it comes to like something like ukulele, yeah, I definitely am not even. I don't care what kind of sell that game would get. I played Banjo and Kazooie. I don't want to play it again. I mean, I don't care how much you want to revamp it and how good it is. Like, I don't care for another clone of a game that I played. I don't know how that
yeah,
sounds, but I wouldn't be interested in that game for any price, to be honest with you. That's just not my thing.
yeah.
It's like not my forte anymore. Like I mean, I love all games of all caliber. Don't get me wrong. Kids to PG to R rated. It doesn't matter if it's a good game. It's a good game. But to know it's based off of something like that, like I've already played that formula. I want to try
Yeah.
something more I can't even say the word.
Expansive, yeah.
Something along those lines. Yeah, exactly. Like I want to play something more different. I want to play
Well,
something more something I haven't tried before.
yeah. Well, I will say, like, I am like starting to become a fan of like PS1 remasters. Like, I'll probably get the Crash trilogy when it's on sale later, and probably in Black Friday. Like PS1, like versus PS4 remasters. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely see the like difference in graphic wise now. Like PS2 remasters, I didn't really buy a lot of those because I know a lot of people probably playing the Final Fantasy 12 HD because that just came out yesterday. And to me, if you're just putting up the graphics a little bit, I'm not gonna bother buying that game unless I absolutely want it.
Yeah. And when it comes to the whole Crash thing, like man, I'm not gonna front, man. I kind of really want that game, and honestly, I have no reason why. I played Crash Bandicoot 1. I never finished it.
Me either.
I don't even know why. It's something about the aura of that game. Like, oh man, this is like the original Naughty Dog game. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I didn't give that game a
I
fair
think
amount of
because
my
that game had
time.
like a big impact on people's like childhood. That's why everybody loves it so much, even if you couldn't finish it.
Yeah, exactly. And because I think was Crash One a packing game with the PS1?
Um, I imagine probably eventually, maybe at some point, like when I got my original PlayStation, it was a multi demo disc thing, and then Crash 2 was one of several games that was on it, and that was my introduction to Crash. But yeah, if you ever want to re-buy the original games, I think they're like $5.99 each on PSN. But personally, I would rather go with the remaster. Even at $40, it's cheaper. But here's an idea. Do you have a Best Buy near you, or you can do this online? And they have this thing called a Gamers Club Unlocked, and basically you spend $30, but for 2 years you get 20% off all new games, and it's so worth it, man.
Um, yeah, I got a Best Buy near me, but I mean, I don't really do hard copies anymore. I know how it sounds, but I do mostly digital. Like digital's just like my thing nowadays. And unless it's a game that I really, really want to own, to say like I own. Like for
Yeah,
example, like I'm buying Destiny 2 as a hard copy because I want that on my shelf. But most games, like I want that digital just because I've gotten so love into the fact where I can boot up my console
yeah,
and select that game without having to put a disc in my system. I love that. I love it. It feels like the new age, man. I can play like hundreds of games without having to get out of my chair. I love that
yeah.
feeling.
But the only con is you have to have a big hard drive. Like I've noticed it's only the RPGs that have a lot of the remasters. Because I glanced at the Final Fantasy the back of the how much the storage space was the Final Fantasy 12 remaster before I shifted off to my buyer. Final Fantasy 15 was the full 50 gigabytes, and the Final Fantasy 12 remaster was like 40 gigabytes. And of course, if you have the default like 500, which I imagine you probably have the a USB type hard drive, but 500, I mean, that's a joke. Just like Nintendo, I don't. The Switch should have had a 500 gigabyte hard drive minimum, but it doesn't.
Yeah, and I've actually even thought about upgrading my memory on my Wii U. But yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I seen that the it doesn't even support 3PO. 3PO.
Oh yeah,
3.0. I was talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, USB USB 3.0. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't know what the fuck I was gonna think about Star Wars there for a minute. It doesn't accept 3.0. You have to have a 2.0, and you have to have an external thing to support the hard drive for its memory.
Yeah, with the Switch on the outside, it has a 2.0 and 3.0, and I looked up like how much the external 3.0 hard drive was, like $25 for something a little bit. The only really advantage of 3.0 is just faster speed. That's really all it is. And if you're gonna, I mean, if you're gonna play online a lot, yeah, I would recommend 3.0, which is modern for right now.
Yeah.
That I would recommend.
But I've got 2 terabytes on my Xbox and my PS4, and I'm completely content with both of those. I mean, I filled up with all of my library that I've had thus far, and I haven't even cracked it. So I mean, I'm cool.
Yeah, I've seen videos on YouTube with like people like 4 and 8 terabytes. Honestly, you only need something that huge if you're going to own like every digital game in existence. That would be your only reason for owning something that huge.
Exactly. But I mean, even if you, I mean, let's be real, let's be honest. If you pick up a PS4 case, look at the back of it. It still requires a shit ton of gigabytes, even for the hard copy. If you get the digital, it can't be much more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is the justification if you get the hard copy, like I can take it back to GameStop and I could trade it if I don't want it. But
yeah,
I've always had this philosophy of that if I buy a game, like that's that piece of time that I paid for, good, bad, or ugly, that I accepted, that I paid for. You know what I mean? And even if I didn't like it when I played it, I couldn't get rid of it. Gun to my head, it would be hard for me to get rid of it because I purchased that. I made that exception. I brought that into my life. I went to the store. I bought it. And, you know, people would call that crazy, but it's something about owning something that I made that decision to go out and get. And I love gaming so much. I just want to say, like, hey, this was terrible, but I owned it. This is good, and I have it. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's crazy or not.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're coming from. And the only thing that worries me about, like, digital, like, you know how people's like, oh, just delete games if your hard drive is about full. But of course, the only con with that is servers don't stay up forever, and there are certain games that I've regret not downloading. And I've said this to you before, and I regret not downloading Marvel vs. Capcom Origins and Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on PS3 when I had the chance. And just that's like what I was saying earlier about companies are not thinking about the long term. Granted, yes, I know servers can't stay up forever, but just they need to either A, come with a bigger hard drive from the get-go, or B, the price needs to be lower to balance out us having to buy a bigger hard drive. Granted, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I made that biggest terrible decision when I bought that PS3, man. That thing has 20 gigabytes on it. 20 for a PS3. And no matter how much I delete off of it, it's just chipping away like small little tiny wood chips. No matter, I'm deleted a whole game, it still won't. And actually, even hit up the Retro Bro because he's like selling a lot of stuff left and right. And I was like, hey man, you got a PS3 for sale? Because my PS3 won't delete shit off of it. I don't want to reformat it. I'm kind of scared to do that because I think I'd ruin it.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of PS3 games that I actually really, really have kind of want to go back and play because I feel like I missed out a lot on that console because it was, like I said, it was expensive for number one. I wasn't a PlayStation head at the time, and it was such a low gigabyte. Like now, I want to kind of go back and like play some of these PS3 games. Like I feel like I kind of missed out on because some of them look really, really fun.
Yeah. And the only thing that bugs me, and I'll use the Wii as an example, I hate pre-installed shit that you can't get rid of, and especially now when the console is like no longer supported, the online, you can't get rid of that shit. It's just stuck on the system. Like let's see, the two thing is the the news channel and the forecast channel. Like you can't get rid of it. It's just it's
Oh yeah,
stuck.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I got you. I got you. Yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah.
I I I hate that shit, man.
Well, I fucking bought a Wii U. All right, so the Wii U originally that I got. I have two Wii U's, by the way. My
Yeah, you
first Wii U was a gift actually from my wife's sister, which is their aunt, and they got the kids a Wii U. And I thought that my son broke it because it wouldn't charge anymore because he was the only one who really was playing it at that time. And it turns out it was the power supply was the
yeah.
problem. So I ended up buying a second Wii U, and that one came with my kids call it Mario Kitty, but it's Mario 3D World.
Yeah.
And I got that one on it, and I'm like, I was expecting to open that shit and have a hard copy of that game. Nope, it's pre-installed on it. And so I ended up finding out that my other Wii U that I thought was broken after doing some research, all I needed to do was call Nintendo, get a power supply for like 25 or 30 bucks, whatever it was. So now I have two Wii U's, which is the old one, which was that I took. And I'm like, yeah, now I have a copy of fucking Mario 3D World that I can't play on both copies or both systems. And that irritates the piss out of me. And when I get my fucking my Xbox, I bought the Xbox, the white one, the first one that came out with the Sunset Overdrive. Do you remember the game when it was
Yeah.
like? And yeah, I was really hoping to open the box. I'm searching through the box. I'm like, where the fuck is the copy of this fucking game at? Nope, installed on the hard drive. And that's not what I was. I mean, now I've gotten it digital. I have no problem with it now.
Yeah.
But been going into it before. I'm like, where the fuck is the copy of my fucking game that I just paid this much money for?
Well, I mean, it's like I'll bring up this comment real quick before I go to the bathroom real quick. It's like with manuals. I get it. It's like with 3DS. They install the manual onto the game itself to save money, and I get cutting corners and stuff like that. And it's like a buddy of mine said before he quit YouTube. Awesome stuff. HD. It's like the $60 business model is not sustainable. And I think PS3 games are supposed to be like $80 to $100, and I don't know why people are bitching about it because like when you add the cost of the game and the season pass, you're almost paying $100 anyway. So I don't know. Just like I said, ever since the whole Xbox One DRM, I've done nothing but think, man, and I don't know. I have this fear that it's only going to get worse and worse, man. But yeah, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
All right, cool, bro.
I guess you had to go too, huh?
Oh no, I just went and grabbed a beer in my refrigerator.
But my mom has a similar version of Skype. They call it Sorensen. It's kind of like Skype where they have like a camera and they can talk with each other. I don't know if you've heard of this thing called a TTY machine. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Nah.
Well, basically, I'll give you a short version of like what it is. Like you would put like your phone on it and kind of like you would type on it, kind of like a keyboard or whatever, and you would see stuff like come on the screen, and that's how they would like communicate back and forth before we had like internet and Skype and all that kind of stuff. I'll have to send you a picture through a private message, unless you want me to email you instead. I know a lot of people probably don't use email anymore because they use Facebook and all that. Because I know, like, you're kind of the same way. Like one of my YouTube buds, I don't even know why we even have private messaging anymore because nobody even uses it.
Well, it's not even anybody uses it. Like nobody even respects it anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like if you've seen like a lot of shit that goes on. Like nothing's private anymore, and I feel like that's a big part of just life in general. Like nothing's fucking private anymore. Like, and you get to see like a lot of these back when it was. Do you remember like it was like that big YouTube drama thing that was going on YouTube? You remember that shit?
yeah.
Like people were exposing each other and like private messages. Like all these people just like turned each other. I think honestly, if you ask me, I think that was like one big fucking scam by all of them. I think that was one big scam by all of them. Could be crazy, but
I Me personally, I think all these big YouTubers, all they care about is maintaining their inner circle of their high celebrity status. Which, me personally, like you, I could give two shits if I get big on YouTube or not. Like I said earlier, I just want to talk and chill and have fun. That's the only reason I came back to YouTube, honestly.
Yeah, no doubt, man. That's like, I mean, that's where I'm at too, man. I my thing is like when it comes to YouTube, man, I love YouTube. I watch YouTube before I watch anything else. Like
Me
it's
too.
like I mean, I don't mind like I mean, I went and saw the new Spider-Man movie. That was like a once in a fucking year thing. Like I'll go watch one, maybe two movies in the movie theater a year.
Yeah.
Netflix series, et cetera, Hulu, you know, whatever, man. I mean, I could care less. YouTube to me is like it just gives you this like
Drive.
exactly like I mean drive, and also it's like I can't really explain it. I can't really put it into words. The best way I can describe it is like, you know, it just feels so genuine and like, you know, you're getting to talk to and see real people, real humans, real human experience, not some fabricated, you know, experience of someone else's mind. Like you're getting to talk to one person's real thoughts, real understanding of something that they think, whether you agree with it right or wrong. And that's why I love YouTube so much, man.
Yeah, a lot of people think YouTube's gonna be like something's gonna become the next YouTube, but honestly, I doubt it. Not for a long, long time.
Well, I think that's what YouTube's trying to turn into. I think that's what they're trying to turn into. They're trying to turn. When I heard of YouTube Red, I immediately thought like, okay, YouTube has got people who have millions and billions of subscribers, right? So they're trying to turn like their series now into, they already have their established 30 or 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, whatever, how many people into a sitcom almost, if you know what I mean. Like they're trying to turn these people in like to their own episodes of et cetera, because they already have so much of a following, right? And I don't know if it, I do think they still would go that route if they were given the opportunity, but I think so much like of YouTube Red got so much backlash, like I don't think they would ever be able to do that again.
No, and I think the only benefit is like you're basically paying for like no ads. I'd rather just play like the 15 seconds and like skip ad or whatever. I'm not paying $10 a month just for no ads.
Right, and what does that do to the little guy or the, you know, the other YouTuber that could be as big as the next YouTuber that you have? You know, you're essentially screwing that person out of even having the drive to do something like this. Once they reach like, you know, let's say for example, someone loves doing YouTube, right? And they realize they can't do YouTube for a career. But they've gotten to that same platform as their favorite YouTuber did at their number, and they can't do it. Like, what drive do they have to do it anymore? I'm not saying that you shouldn't only do it only for money, but it also, when you get to the point where you're like, I'm being so much accepted about this and people love my content, what the fuck is the point of doing it? Like, I might as well go back to my J job, because now I have like almost 2 full-time jobs because I'm doing this and I'm doing my full-time job, and this other one I'm not getting paid for.
Yeah, people should make videos because they want to, not just to put content on there to get 10 videos a day or whatever.
And I have no problem against people thinking they should get paid for YouTube when they reach a certain criteria.
Level, yeah.
Right. And I have absolutely no problem with that. Like, I mean, there's certain YouTubers where I watch, I'm like, this guy should do this full time because I love his content. And that goes for like the Nostalgia Critic, man. I love the Nostalgia Critic. Like, I literally watch almost everything that guy puts out. And that guy deserves way more shit than what he has. I think he's a fucking genius, but that's a different story. But something like that, I completely understand people like, you know, being upset about not being able to paid or be paid for what their content does, because they literally have turned that into a career.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to make, like, it's like you were saying earlier, if you're going to make this your job, like once people have felt that you've reached that level, then they'll, gladly donate money to you, but don't like start like I'm going to start a YouTube channel tomorrow and then I'm going to create a Patreon. No, I mean, almost everyone has a Patreon now, which is like, it's kind of like, I think, hurt Patreon's image, I think. Now, some of the big YouTubers have Patreon, which personally I don't think they need it, but that's just me. But just everybody's like, Patreon, Patreon, Patreon. I'm like, okay, but I just want to enjoy content, I'll donate money if I feel like you have earned it, like I said earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I know what Patreon is, but I've never not once like visited that website because honestly, I'm not in that fucking category like whatsoever. But I've seen. I mean, but I get the point of Patreon though. I do kind of appreciate what they are because I feel like you get to support directly the person that you like. You know what I mean? You get to support that content creator that you think is really deserving of your money. And that's kind of why I like that website VidMe to a degree, because there is no ad revenue, there is no censorship, etc., etc. The way you support your favorite content creator on VidMe is you literally donate to them directly. If you like that person's video, you can tip them $1, $2, $5, $10. Hey man, that was a good ass video. Let me tip you some money. I like that idea. And is it something that we should probably support on YouTube? Hell no, because I think that would take a lot of the drive away. But I do kind of like that way of thinking to a degree. Is it reasonable something to ask for like right now or in the future? Probably not. But I still kind of like the idea of it. And especially like with what they call the YouTube ad apocalypse. And let's be fair, let's be honest, man. I do kind of blame. I've heard it, and I'll say it, man. I think I might get some backlash for this. I do kind of blame PewDiePie for it, man.
Yeah,
I blame him a little bit. I blame him, and do you know who iDubbbz is?
That name sounds familiar, I think.
He's another YouTuber, and he does a lot of. I didn't put him in my video because I completely forgot I was actually even subscribed to him. But he does some pretty outlandish fucking shit. He really like, all right. You watch H3H3?
I think I might have heard of them possibly.
So like they pick on YouTubers, like small YouTubers, and like make fun of their videos, et cetera, et cetera. But like iDubbbz like picks on the big YouTubers, like the big ones, and like he really doesn't fucking play. Like he'll like come to your house and shit. he's fucking crazy. So he did some pretty racial type shit. He says the N-word pretty regularly on his channel. And he has like millions of subscribers, and he puts it. I'm not saying the N-word is cool or anything like that, but he says it in a lot. He says it a lot, but he also says it like in a way where it's not very derogatory. He says it like where it's more of a where he puts it as is, there's so many slang words out there. This one should be acceptable because you have so many other ones. And I'm not condoning that at all. That's not what I'm getting at. But what I'm getting at is that these type of videos that he was doing, PewDiePie are getting millions of views.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie. If I was the so whatever of a company and my ads being played over that, I'd pull that shit too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And just personally, I don't think anybody will knock PewDiePie and all these big YouTubers off their throne unless someone just magically makes it big.
No, it's not about knocking them off their throne, but I mean, I think that it's kind of put them in their place where you can't just say and do whatever you want and think you're going to be paid for it. I mean, there's a different, set of reasonable boundaries where I think that, you can't just, like what was the big one that he got flagged for was the Hitler thing where he dared like these two kids to like say like, fuck Jews or some shit, whatever it was or whatever it wasn't. I remember it was something along those lines. I think that was the big thing that where people were like, oh my God, this is the king of YouTube. This is the guy who's getting the most views. And he's like putting a video out there. It's like derogatory about Jewish people. Like, yeah, like maybe we don't want to have our ads here. And that was the big thing that I think that sparked the whole thing off.
Yeah. The whole, companies backing out of ad revenue
and
I haven't heard anything like new on that since the whole debacle started.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what started it. And I mean, YouTube has put a lot of things apparently in place about fixing it. Apparently. But it's going to take a lot of trust from. But the thing is, you're going to get a lot of companies who are startups, et cetera, who don't care about that type of stuff. You get a lot of companies who don't really care about that stuff in general. But you're going to get the companies like, you know, Coke, Pepsi, Papa John's. They're not going to want their ad played over something like that. That's why they call it the ad apocalypse, whatever, because you got the big companies, the big ones, the big fish, who said, no, we want no part of this stuff. We're happily advertising their stuff over the Super Bowl, you know, the new Fox show, ABC. We're definitely pulling our ads from YouTube because clearly they don't know how to justify what our ads should be played over.
Yeah, well, personally, I think it's like how these, some of these big YouTubers, they think they're like they're so big on their high horse, they don't think they can be knocked off. They can, like you said, do whatever they want and almost get away with it. But it shows there's repercussions because of that.
Right. And, you know, and honestly, at this point, like, because some of the big ones made some big mistakes, like, everyone has to pay the cost for that. And
yeah, that's what sucks. It's the whole come around thing. And I was reading an article. I kind of browsed it. I don't know if this is actually going to go into effect, but there's someone's trying to like pass like a law where you have to like where you can't like say like whatever you want like language wise like on the internet. And
I saw something about that.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was ever gonna pass, honestly. It's just like the whole government trying to regulate the whole internet. It's just that's never gonna happen.
Yeah. I don't think, man, like, you know. But do you think YouTube would, like, as a whole, even though this whole ad apocalypse thing, I don't think that would ever really affect YouTube as a whole. I mean, there's too many people who have too much hunger.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I think only the people that would probably, like, noticeably be affected is all, like, the big-time YouTubers. Like, us little people, we wouldn't even notice it.
Yeah, and they clearly, like, started to show signs, like Philip DeFranco, like, when the guy, he's, like, has, like, 5 million subscribers. He's clearly, like, made it clear, like, he's making his own news network off of YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that's almost like a bluff, too, like, where YouTube, like, give me more money or I'm going to leave, you know?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of... Yeah, it's just like I forgot what video this was. It's like, oh, I forgot what video this was. Peter was like, oh, if I get a certain amount of views, I'll leave YouTube. And, you know, they're just saying those things just to get more subs.
And he did that shit before. He was like, if I get enough subs, I'll quit YouTube, or he's like, if I get enough subs, I'll cut my dick off, or some shit. Like, he still got his dick. He's still on YouTube. You know, nothing's changing. It's the same old shit.
They know how to, like, word stuff just to get more. And personally, I think the big YouTubers just all they care about is helping, like I said, their other big YouTubers just to keep their big circle going, and they don't care about. And I had one time I forgot what it was. I messaged the Angry Video Game Nerd about. I think it might have been the Wii U or something. He sent me a nice, polite response. But yeah, I know how a lot of people like Happy Console Gamer, but I've heard like a lot of kind of mixed feelings about it. Of course, I won't go into specifics, but it's just, and I used to watch this content, but for some reason, a lot of my comments would get spammed, so I was like, okay, I'm not gonna watch him anymore.
Who, the Happy Console Gamer?
Yeah, because like he did a Dragon Quest video, and I put in the comment, I said, even though I don't like Dragon Quest, you know, I like such and such, but then I put below it, I said, my mom is hearing impaired, and she's a big Dragon Quest fan, and somehow my comment got spammed. I don't know if it's like I'm not sure how this works. Like, I don't know if the person, like whoever is in charge of the channel, like if they have the power to spam, or if like I know like if your comment like gets enough like dislikes, it turns into spam. So I don't know. I just don't care to watch big YouTubers anymore. To me, they're just snotty. No offense.
No, yeah. What about what? I'm just curious though. What did the AVGN send you though? He seems like he seems like a really decent human being.
Yeah, it was. I think it was something about the Wii U. I mean, this is so long, I don't even remember his response. But it was polite. That's what I remember. I don't remember what it was exactly that he said.
That's cool.
I think the Wii U like was just like, I think it just like it was just new, or it really had been out for maybe less than 2 years. So I I asked him, hey, what are your thoughts on the Wii U? And he's like, oh, cool, thank you for the message. I think the Wii U is, blah 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 blah. And of course, I know a lot of them, they're, too busy to answer a lot of uh their messages. And I haven't played his video game that he got made. By the way, I haven't. I want to check that out.
Yeah, I saw he had made a video, but no, that's cool that he did that though, man. Like I said, he seems like a really down to earth human being. Even Mike Mattel, I guess, who's like kind of the guy behind the scenes. I kind of like that guy
Yeah,
too, man. They seem like really cool guys, man. I mean, just some fucking guys who like video games and they just happen to make a YouTube channel that happened to happen for them, and but they still seem pretty humble and cool. You know what I mean? Like he seems all about his fans. And I think that's like the biggest reason why he made that movie.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, that's cool though.
But like I'll tell you the reason why I don't upload news much is because like if you upload news, like the only people who are really going to get views, of course, IGN and all the other big YouTubers, they're the ones that are going to get views. So I was like, after maybe a month of trying on my old channel, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to upload when I want to and do stuff that I want to do.
Yeah. But hey, man, it's been like almost like 2.5 hours, man. This has been a fucking great, amazing conversation, bro.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed and want to do it again and
I-
get the Retro Bro and other people on too.
oh yeah, absolutely, man. Hey, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on here, man. This has been a really fucking awesome, fun ass conversation, man.
Oh, it's fun. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to watching you play some Overwatch this weekend.
Yeah, that's what I do, man. I happen to do that from time to time. But anyway, man, this is Kamikaze Soundwaves, man. I've been joined by Jrpg. Fucking cool ass dude. Great fucking conversation, man. Thank you so much for joining me, man. I really appreciate it. And we're out of here. Jrpg, anything you got to say before we go?
Oh, well, it's been a pleasure, Kamikaze, and hope to do this again, and hopefully we can have more guests on.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. All right, we're out of here. Much obliged for watching. Thank you very much.